Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, Comprehensive Manga. Saiyans Beginning in a Dream. Chapter 1. Today's class is over. Everyone can go back. Remember to finish your homework. On the podium in the classroom, Shizuka Hiratsuka organized the lesson plan and took it in her hand, ready to leave the classroom, and said to the students below who were starting to become noisy. Students who participate in club activities should also remember to review. There will be exams in a few days. Probably because he saw many students becoming more and more agitated, Hiratsuka Shizuka added a special sentence, causing the students who were already preparing to leave to lament again. In this country that advocates happy education, there are many students who do not study well. Failure to pass the exam is a high wall that stands in front of many students. The energy that many students had originally aroused due to club activities suddenly cooled down because of Hiratsuka Shizuka's words. Teacher Hiratsuka, don't pour cold water on me like this. That's right, I was planning to show off my skills in front of the juniors today, but now I suddenly lose my energy. Complaints from the students immediately rang out in the classroom, but Shizuka Hiratsuka just glanced at them and said a word calmly. Those who fail this exam will have to make up lessons on the weekends. This sentence was even more weighty, and it immediately silenced the classroom further. Hiratsuka Shizuka didn't care. It was a good thing to give these students who usually didn't study very hard a sense of urgency. She took the lesson plan and left the classroom. Chuan, who was sitting in the second-to-last row by the classroom window, saw this and packed his textbook bag, preparing to leave the classroom and go home. Unlike other students, Chuan did not join the club and was a true, homecoming member, so he was naturally not within Hiratsuka Shizuka's attack range. Chuan, are you going to go home directly? Do you want to go to the KTV to sing together with the class next door? I heard that someone has invited Senior Kasumagaoka. Probably seeing Chuan packing up his books and preparing to leave, a male classmate next to him came up and invited Chuan with a smile. This may be a rare opportunity to get in touch with Kasumagaoka-senpai. Are you sure you don't want to come? The Kasumagaoka senior he was talking about was a very famous beautiful girl in this private Toyozaki school, Kasumagaoka Shu. With her tall figure, beautiful face, smooth black hair, and her long-term position as the number one in her grade, she once became a hot topic in this school. However, Kasumagaoka Shu doesn't seem to be very interested in other people. She has been immersed in her own world for a long time, so even if many people want to contact her, they all come back in vain. No wonder this male classmate said this was a rare opportunity to get in touch with Kasumagaoka-senpai. However, Chuan had no intention of accepting the invitation. He shook his head and declined with a smile like an ordinary student. No, I still have something to deal with. Let's talk about it next time we have a chance. Really, that's really a pity. The male classmate looked a little disappointed, as if he was sorry for Chuan's refusal. After all, Chuan's appearance is also quite outstanding. Although he is not very famous in school because he doesn't express himself very much, his face has attracted many girls' confessions. It's just that Chuan didn't seem to have any intention of falling in love. As if he had something to care about, he declined the girls every time. That's it, then I'll leave first. Chuan picked up his school bag, waved to the male classmate, and then left the classroom without looking back. To be honest, he didn't have much hope for what this male classmate said about inviting Kasumagaoka Shu. After all, Kasumagaoka Shu was not the type to go to KTV with his classmates. It's just that Chuan didn't say it directly in front of him, which would be a bit disrespectful. Chuan still lives with the mentality of keeping ordinary for the time being. Although his appearance has attracted a lot of attention to him, overall, his life is quite peaceful. His grades are in the upper middle range for his age, and his sports performance is also quite satisfactory. But I'm afraid he won't be able to maintain this ordinariness for long, because after tonight, he will probably undergo earth-shaking changes. Quickly returning to the rented apartment, Chuan threw his school bag into the corner of the room, then sat down and put it on, suppressing his excitement, and said silently. System, start. Yes, Chuan is not an ordinary person, he is a time traveler. About 2 years ago, he inexplicably traveled into this world in his sleep and became a junior high school student in this country. Although his body was still his own, His age had inexplicably gone back a few years, and he had the identity of an orphan, leaving him speechless. And as he came into this world, there was also a countdown system in his head, but the countdown of this system was actually a full 2.5 years. Therefore, Chuan has been acting like an ordinary student for the past 2.5 years. He graduated from junior high school 6 months ago and went to the private Toyozaki school to become a high school student. It was when he came to this school that Chuan realized what kind of world he had come to. It seemed to be a world that integrated many animations, because he heard about many animations in his previous life in school. Character name. However, even though the character he had only seen in anime appeared before him alive, Chuan did not act rashly. After all, the system is about to be activated. Chuan feels that it is better to find out what the system in his body is first. If a doomsday system awakens, it will be great fun. Chuan did not find Tatami Fujimi Gakuen on the internet in this world, but he could not guarantee whether there were any of these doomsday type works in this world. After all, according to Chuan's understanding, Yukinoshita Yukino also appeared in the private Toyosaki school. In other words, even if the schools in those works disappear, the characters and settings may be transferred to other schools. Therefore, Chuan's mood now is one of excitement mixed with a hint of nervousness. After all, if this system is related to an event such as the end of the world, it means that there may be dangers lurking in this world. If possible, Chuan would of course hope that the risk factor would be smaller. Come on, let me see what the system is. In Chuan's expectation, the system in his brain finally unveiled the mystery that had been held for 2.5 years, and an emotionless sound sounded in his head. Welcome to Infinite Horror VR Game. Please enter your username. Infinite Horror VR Game. Chuan was stunned for a moment. He never expected that the system he had been waiting for 2.5 years would actually say it was a game after it was started. Chuan knew about the Infinite Horror. It was also an online novel he had read in his previous life. It focused on traveling through multiple worlds to complete tasks, and created the genre of infinite flow. But more importantly, in this type of novels, the person who travels through various worlds is often not one person, but a team of several people. Could it be that I am not the only player of this Infinite Horror VR game? Chuan scratched his head and was a little unsure for a moment, but for safety reasons, he did not use his real name as his username. Then use Kobold as your username. Check that the username is not repeated. Welcome to play this game, Kobold. You are the only player in this world. I wish you a happy game. Please confirm the user agreement. Quote. It's really a game. Although there was nothing in front of him, Chuan felt that a lot of words were suddenly stuffed into his head. There was no doubt that these words were the user agreement. Just like reading a lot of stuff before playing a game and then checking, I agree, the average player will definitely ignore it and click the check mark without thinking. But this time it was different. This thing was stuffed directly into his mind. Chuan still read the user agreement very carefully and finally confirmed one thing. This thing is really the same as those user agreements of online games. Chuan, who couldn't laugh or cry, immediately agreed to the user agreement, and then he felt his body tremble slightly, as if something was completely integrated into his body. Dear Kobold, your game is a dream version. Please start the game after sleeping. In the game, your body and mind will still be restored. In other words, does this thing actually occupy sleep time? Chuan was thoughtful. At first, he was still thinking about how much time he would spend playing this game, but if it took up his sleep time, he didn't have to worry about this problem. Thinking of this, Chuan didn't waste any time, stood up and went to the bathroom. He still had common sense to wash up before going to bed. After getting ready, Chuan put on his pajamas, lay on the bed and covered himself with a quilt, and prepared to sleep. Although it is not yet 7 o'clock in the evening, Chuan, who can't wait to enter this Infinite Horror VR game, naturally doesn't care about going to bed too early. Although this thing claims to be a game, after all, it is a system that followed Chuan into this world, so Chuan feels that this thing can't really be just for entertainment, right? With this thought, Chuan calmed down and soon fell into sleep, but as his consciousness blurred, he soon opened his eyes again. However, when he opened his eyes this time, he found that he was not lying on his bed, but was soaking in a body of water. What's going on? Why am I in the water? The whole person was soaked in the water. Chuan struggled subconsciously, but soon he found that although the whole person was soaked in the water, he could still breathe. Although this water, or rather, these liquids would be poured into his nose, it would not suffocate him. Instead, it would make him feel extremely comfortable. Before he could figure out what was going on, a long buzzer sounded from above, and then Chuan felt that the water level of the liquid soaking his body suddenly dropped, and all flowed out along the drainage outlet below. Following the fall of the liquid to the ground, Chuan discovered that he was actually in a strange mechanical cabin, and there were some tubes inserted into his body. The next moment, the barn door in front of him was opened. A strange man wearing strange clothes and a toad-like face stood outside the door. He held an electronic device similar to a tablet in his hand and glanced at Chuan's body indifferently, said, "Chuan, all your injuries have been cured and you can return to the team." Hearing this, Chuan subconsciously walked out of the mechanical warehouse. From this strange man's words, he learned that he was healing in this mechanical warehouse. More importantly, Chuan recognized the clothes worn by the strange man in front of him. That's the battle uniform of Frieza's Legion. This is the world of Dragon Ball, and I am now on the territory of Frieza's Legion. Chuan frowned and quickly realized his situation. No wonder this man's face looked like a toad. Frieza's Legion was full of aliens with all kinds of strange looks. And judging from what he just said, it seems that I am a combatant of Frieza's Legion. I was injured in a certain battle, so I was thrown into the treatment warehouse for treatment. Chuan turned around and looked at the mechanical warehouse behind him. Chuan didn't recognize this thing when he was inside it just now, but now that he came out, Chuan could recognize it at a glance. This thing is the healing chamber used by Vegeta after he escaped from the Earth in the original work. The healing effect is very good. Vegeta, who was almost beaten to death, was thrown into it and he was back to full health in a short time. Why are you still standing there? Get dressed. I'm not interested in seeing a man wandering around shirtless in front of me. Just when Chuan turned around to look at the treatment room, the toad-faced alien started yelling again. Although Chuan was wearing shorts, he was shirtless after all. Chuan, who was called back to his senses, took a glance and soon found a brand new combat uniform on the table next to him. It was obviously new clothes prepared for Chuan. Although he was a little disgusted with this battle suit that was made to imitate the appearance of Frieza's first stage, Chuan felt that it was at least better looking than shirtless, so he picked it up and put it on. But this guy's attitude towards me, it seems that my status is not very high. Chuan, who was still wearing clothes, didn't stop thinking. He remembered Vegeta's treatment in the original work. Those soldiers were all respectful to Vegeta. At that time, Vegeta's combat power was about 18,000, and he was a proper minor leader in Frieza's army, but he obviously did not receive such treatment. After putting on his clothes, Chuan clenched his fist slightly. Terrifying power spurted out from his body. Chuan could even feel that he had fully released his power, which was enough to smash the planet into pieces. This is not an illusion. The combat power in the world of Dragon Ball is so outrageous. A few hundred combat power can destroy the moon from a long distance. As a combatant of Frieza's army, it is impossible for him to have less than a few hundred combat power. But for more specific combat power, we have to wait and take a look at Frieza's army's combat power detector later. Ah, by the way, your tail hasn't grown yet. Just when Chuan was about to leave, the toad-faced man suddenly added another sentence, with a smile in his words. But for you Saiyans, missing a tail is also missing a weakness. Chuan was stunned. Good guy, it turns out that my identity in this world is still a Saiyan. Saiyans, the race of Sun Wukong, the protagonist of the Dragon Ball world, have very terrifying potential and a variety of transformation methods. Although before Sun Wukong became a Super Saiyan, this race seemed to have never produced any great figures, the potential of this race is indeed high enough. System, are you there? After walking out of what seemed to be the treatment room, Chuan called for the system in his heart. Although this thing called itself a game, Chuan still used to call it the system. However, the system did not reply. Instead, a screen popped up directly in front of Chuan, which contained some information and intelligence related to Chuan. Current world. Dragon Ball. Main mission. Destroy Frieza's 100% status. Synchronization of player kobold strength, 0%. Players are requested to try their best to advance the main mission and unlock strength synchronization. Is there no such thing as AI? It seems like it's just a system that only runs according to the written program. Seeing that the system did not respond, but directly popped up the panel, Chuan was thoughtful. And more importantly, this thing is really not just a form of entertainment. This strength synchronization should allow me to bring some of my strength to the real world. To be honest, Chuan did not expect that he would be so lucky in the beginning, and he would appear directly in the world of Dragon Ball. You must know that this is Dragon Ball. The later battles can be said to be at the level of destroying planets at every turn, although the performance of the original work does not seem that exaggerated, the setting is like that. Avertisement. With only a few hundred combat power, Qigong waves can be launched from the Earth to directly destroy the moon. Chuan is jealous just thinking about this kind of power. More importantly, it was not difficult to synchronize hundreds of combat power. If Chuan's combat power was as high as tens of thousands, then only a 1% synchronization rate would be needed, and Chuan would be directly invincible in the real world. Having said that, my current combat effectiveness is definitely far from tens of thousands. However, after his blood cooled down, Chuan had to quickly face the dilemma he was facing now. I am still alive as a Saiyan, which means that Frieza has not yet destroyed planet Vegeta. Then King Vegeta, the strongest among the Saiyans, may only have a fighting power of just over 10,000. Vegeta has bluntly said that his fighting power exceeded that of his father when he was a child, which means that King Vegeta's strength is much worse than that of Vegeta when he grew up. Chuan guessed that he was already in his early 10,000s. King Vegeta's combat power is only over 10,000, so Chuan's combat power must be even lower. To complete the main mission and eliminate Frieza with 100% effort, this means that Chuan has to increase his combat power to 12,000. More than 10,000. This is not a small value. Chuan must plan carefully. Hey, Chuan, are your injuries healed? Just when Chuan was thinking about how to advance the main mission, a voice sounded from the side, calling Chuan. Chuan turned around and saw that the person calling him was an ordinary-looking male Saiyan who was walking towards him with several people. Chuan didn't know the male Saiyan who called him. He was probably just a supporting character who had no role in the original work. However, Chuan was quite familiar with the man leading these people. Bardock. That's right, the one at the front among those Saiyans is the father of the protagonist of Dragon Ball, Bardock. It's good to be cured. Bardock walked up to Chuan and reached out to pat his shoulder. It was obvious that he and Chuan still knew each other. Although he is a lower-level warrior, Bardock is already one of the top among the lower-level warriors. Especially because of his calm personality and awareness of saving his companions, many Saiyans have a good impression of him. Among the ferocious Saiyans, Bardock is a rare exception. If it were me, I would take this opportunity to stay in the treatment room for a while. Although Bardock said good things, another Saiyan on the side showed a gloating smile to Chuan. Chuan, you don't know yet, right? Frieza has sent a new mission, asking us to clean up a planet called Cirel. If you stay in the treatment room for a while, you don't have to follow. Quote. Idiot, call me King Frieza. Haha, yes, King Frieza's mission. After the Saiyan finished speaking, a female Saiyan next to him corrected his title jokingly, and the male Saiyan responded with a smile. Obviously, the Saiyans have no respect for Frieza. From King Vegeta to the lower-level warriors, every Saiyan does not really obey Frieza. Although the Saiyans had to obey Frieza's orders due to Frieza's power, it is conceivable that once the Saiyans have the power to resist Frieza, they will inevitably raise a rebellion. It's no wonder that Frieza has always disliked Saiyans and would destroy Saiyans and the planet together when he found the opportunity. Chuan did not respond to these people's teasing about Frieza, but asked. Cirel Star. Yes, I heard that it was a planet that a big client was interested in, so I wanted to make sure everything was safe, so I approached the Saiyans. The male Saiyan replied casually. And even the full moon time of that planet has been calculated. Cirel star will enter the night in a few hours, and the full moon will also rise at the same time, so we will set off soon. When Chuan heard this, his eyes flickered. Cirel star, if he remembered correctly, was a plot in the Dragon Ball Super comic. How about it, Chuan, do you want to go with me? If you feel uncomfortable, you don't have to go. Bardock didn't make noises like other Saiyans. He can be said to be one of the few Saiyans who can think calmly, and he also takes good care of his companions. Obviously, if Chuan is not willing to go, Bardock can make the decision to let Chuan stay. With Bardock's popularity among the lower-level soldiers, no one will say anything if there is one less person left. No, my injury is almost healed. I want to go. However, Chuan shook his head and rejected Bardock's kindness. Of course he wanted to go, because there were some valuable things hidden in Cirel star. Just now, Chuan was still struggling with how to use the power of Frieza's army to search the coordinates of the Earth without being noticed by other members of Frieza's army. Now it seems that he does not need to go to Earth for the time being. After all, his main purpose of going to the Earth is also to use the 7 Dragon Balls on the Earth to realize his wishes with the help of the dragons there. But now, there is a ready-made Cirel planet to go to, and he remembers clearly that there are also Dragon Balls on Cirel planet. Although the dragon from Cirel can be summoned with only 2 Dragon Balls, and it is estimated that the dragon is not as powerful as the dragon from Earth and Namek, he is not picky about food now. It seems that your injury has indeed recovered, but your body is still a little stiff. Is it because the internal injury has not been cured? In the open space of the Saiyan settlement, Bardock watched Chuan throw a set of punches randomly, with a somewhat puzzled expression on his face. Chuan's face turned red. It was normal for Bardock to think so, because although Chuan had obtained the powerful fighting power of this Saiyan body, his fighting consciousness was almost zero. Bardock could tell something was wrong just by standing there and doing a set of tortoise punches. If it were an actual fight, he would be more easily exposed. The only good thing is that the invasion of Cirel planet was on a full moon day, so when they arrived at their destination, all the Saiyans would turn into irrational giant apes. So no one can discover that Chuan actually fights like a novice. However, Bardock's straightforward words still made Chuan realize the problem. He only had fighting power but no fighting skills. Although it was not impossible to crush him with strength, it would be troublesome if he encountered someone who was evenly matched. In particular, Chuan's main mission is to kill Frieza with 100% combat power, which is a monster with 120 million combat power. Unless Chuan can increase his combat power to more than 200 million, skills are still very important. By the way, Chuan also used the combat power detector to check his combat power just now 4000, which is at the same level as Nappa who arrived on Earth in the original work. In other words, the current Chuan can also destroy several cities with just a raise of his hand. If he can synchronize 1% of his strength back, even if he only has 40 combat power, he can beat some world champion. Bardock, Chuan, it's time to go. Just when Bardock was about to ask something, someone in the distance began to call Chuan and Bardock to set off. Obviously, they had to take the spherical spaceship to the Cirel planet immediately. Bardock looked at Chuan, sighed finally, and patted Chuan on the shoulder. Anyway, if you feel uncomfortable somewhere during the battle, remember to stop immediately. Obviously, Bardock still felt that Chuan had not fully recovered. After all, the set of punches just now made Bardock want to cover his face. Although the Saiyans have always been a race that doesn't care much about skills, and can crush most planets purely by relying on strength and giant ape transformation, they still have to know how to gather power into their fists, right? Ahem, Cirel is a full moon anyway, and we will turn into giant apes if we go there, so it doesn't matter. Chuan also knew that the set of punches he just performed was really embarrassing, and secretly decided to improve his fighting skills, but at least he wouldn't have to use them on this trip. Saiyans will turn into giant apes during the full moon. While their combat power will increase tenfold, they will also lose their minds and carry out crazy destruction. This is a common method used by Saiyans to clean up the planet when they invade the planet. Only high-level warriors with royal blood can maintain their sanity while transforming into giant apes, but it is obviously impossible for Bardock and the others. After all, the mission of the Saiyans is to clear out civilization on the planet, and then let Frieza sell the cleared planet to others, so there is no need for the giant apes to keep things like buildings. Indeed, we will all turn into giant apes in a moment. Bardock was startled, and then glanced at Chuan's butt. Of course, it wasn't that he had any special hobbies, but that there was nothing on Chuan's butt. But don't forget, your tail hasn't grown yet. You won't turn into a giant ape later. Don't be trampled to death by your companions. Chuan subconsciously touched his butt. Indeed, transforming into a Saiyan giant ape requires the help of a tail, and Chuan's tail happened to be broken before he entered the world of Dragon Ball. So this time when he goes to Cirel planet, Chuan will not turn into a giant ape. This is what Chuan has thought about for a long time. After all, his purpose of going to Cirel planet is not to cause destruction, but to take advantage of the chaos to steal from Cirel planet. Hoshi gets the Dragon Balls. In the comics of Dragon Ball Super, Granola, a survivor of planet Cirel, made a wish to the Dragon Balls and reached the sky with a compressed lifespan. She crossed countless levels and directly became the #1 in the universe, surpassing Goku and Vegeta, warrior. To be honest, when Chuan saw this plot, he felt it was very nonsense. You must know that Goku and Vegeta at that time were many times stronger than after defeating Buu, and they were directly chased by a wish. But once this nonsense plot becomes reality, it will be an incredible opportunity, proving that the second Dragon Ball can achieve a very outrageous wish by paying a certain price. Of course, Chuan was not prepared to directly sacrifice his lifespan to only 3 months in exchange for combat effectiveness like Granola in the original work. After all, Chuan didn't know whether his power to synchronize the past in reality would disappear after the lifespan of this identity ran out. Just in case, he still wanted to ensure the survival of this identity as much as possible. Chuan, continue. Just as Chuan was thinking about what to do with the Dragon Balls from planet Cirel and preparing to enter the spherical spaceship, Bardock threw something towards Chuan. Chuan took it easily, and it turned out to be a combat effectiveness detector. After all, you can't turn into a giant ape. For safety reasons, stay away from the city and clean up the guys who escaped. Bardock was undoubtedly kind to his companions, but his words were very cruel to the natives of Cirel. The combat effectiveness detector can detect the combat effectiveness of those who escaped. I leave it to you. Chuan silently put away the combat power detector, nodded to Bardock, and then got into the spherical spaceship, waiting for the people from Frieza's army to set the coordinates. Although cruel, Chuan was not prepared to do anything to this Saiyan invasion. On the one hand, probably because Infinite Horror VR game calls itself a game, Chuan subconsciously feels like a player facing data when facing things in the Dragon Ball world. On the other hand, Chuan is completely powerless now. Even if he wants to save the natives of Cirel, what can he do? His combat prowess is not among the most outstanding among the Saiyans on this mission, not to mention that those Saiyans can transform into giant apes. The irrational giant ape doesn't care about his companions. If he tries to stop it by himself, he will probably be trampled to death by the giant apes immediately. So Chuan has made a decision this time. He has no way to deal with the affairs of Cirel Star. He can only let Cirel Star and the Saiyans attract all their firepower to give him a chance to snatch the Dragon Ball. As for whether Cirel's injured Dragon Balls can be snatched, he is not worried about this, because the 2 Dragon Balls are kept in the hands of an old non-combatant Namekian. With 4,000 combat power, he can easily win them without any skills. It would be okay if the other party obediently handed over the Dragon Ball, but if he wasn't willing, I'm afraid Chuan would have no choice but to use violence. Cirel Star, it is night. Cirel people who have been busy for a day are walking on the streets, telling each other about today's harvest. The city is a prosperous scene. However, not long after, a change occurred. Many Cirels quickly noticed that a fireball appeared from the sky, crashing towards the edge of the city like a meteorite. Then came the second, the third, and at this time, the Cirel people finally saw clearly that in the center of the fireballs that hit the city, there was a spherical spaceship like a baseball. Boom, boom, boom. A large number of spherical spaceships crashed into the Cyrillic city mercilessly. Many buildings were directly destroyed by the huge force, and many Cyrillic people were directly knocked unconscious by the impact of the spacecraft landing. There was even an unlucky Cyrillic who was directly hit by the spherical spaceship that landed and died. I don't know whether it was luck or misfortune, but at least he died without pain. The other Cirels faced the ferocious Saiyans who walked out of these spherical spaceships. They might not be able to die so easily. Hiss. It seems that Bardock specifically told me that the landing coordinates set for me are indeed at the edge of the city. Chuan walked out of the spaceship and looked into the distance, and soon realized that the location where he landed was some distance away from the landing coordinates of other Saiyans. Those Saiyan spaceships all fell straight into the center of the Cyrillic city, while his own spaceship landed on the edge of the city, which could be said to be completely separated from the large army. As a Saiyan, Bardock must be cruel to outsiders, but I have to say that from the perspective of a fellow Saiyan, Bardock is indeed interesting. Roar. While Chuan was still looking at the surrounding environment, several ear-piercing roars came from the Cyrillic city and resounded throughout the night sky. Under Chuan's gaze, some huge apes slowly stood up in the city's buildings. Their ferocious aura emanated from them, and they immediately began to destroy the surrounding buildings mercilessly. Tisk, tisk, what a terrifying momentum. Chuan put on the combat power detector and looked at the giant apes in the distance. Because the Saiyan's combat power will directly increase 10 times after the giant ape transforms, the values displayed on the combat power detector are all astonishing. 22,000, 41,000, 39,000. Chuan even saw someone with a combat power of close to 100,000, who must be the strongest Bardock among this group of people. The data looks strong, right? With this kind of fighting power, one kick could cause the mountains to collapse and the earth to crack. If the giant ape had sense, these 100,000 fighting power would be enough to completely destroy the planet under his feet. But Frieza's combat power in the first stage alone is as high as 530,000. Chuan, who sighed in his heart, looked up and saw the bright full moon hanging in the night sky, which made Chuan's blood a little restless. He knew that this was the Saiyan blood reacting to the full moon. However, because he had no tail, Chuan would not turn into a giant ape and could remain rational. With Bardock's help, he landed alone on the edge of the Cyrillic city, which was convenient for him to do things. First, search for the aura of combat power other than Cyrillic. By adjusting the options of the combat power detector, Chuan quickly eliminated the combat power data of Saiyans and Cirels, and then there were only a few special combat power auras left on the detector. These combat power auras are gathered in a house on the edge of the city. The one with the highest combat power only has 300 combat power, and the weakest one only has 5. Chuan knew that these auras were the Namekians gathered on Cirel. When Namek was destroyed, a dozen Namekians fled to Cirel and formed a very small settlement. After such a long time, there are only a few Namekians left, and according to the plot, most of these Namekians will die in this invasion. In the end, only an old Namekian was left guarding the 2 Dragon Balls. Now that we've determined the location, let's just go get it. Naturally, Chuan couldn't wait here. He rushed directly towards the position marked on the combat power detector. Even if he didn't know the air dance, he could run and jump very fast with his strong combat power. After all, Chuan still knows nothing about the chi of this world, but with the Saiyan's talent, he will probably be able to learn to fly in a little time. Great Elder, it's better to escape. Star Cirel may be in danger this time. At this time, in the Namek house on Cirel, a few Namek people gathered here and were discussing the next action. Although there are not many in number, there are also great elders among these Namekians. Even though their abilities are far inferior to those of the great elders on Namek, they still possess certain special abilities. Not only the Cirels, but also our Namekians. The great elder listened to the persuasion of the Namek people around him with a sad look on his face. Although the Saiyans are basically fighting with the Cirels, where can their Namekians escape to? They did not expect that Cirel would be invaded. The spacecraft that had escaped had long been in disrepair and could not be started again. What's more, the Cirel people were kind enough to take in the fleeing Namekians. Are they going to flee now that the Cirel people are in trouble? Great Elder. How about using Dragon Balls? Another old Namekian on the side began to persuade him. This old Namekian was the only Monet to survive in the future. Dragon beads. Hearing this, the great elder raised his head and looked at a piece of furniture like a sacrificial altar placed in the room, with 2 Dragon Balls placed on it. Wild team, the Dragon Ball was originally meant to be used at this juncture. Now it's really time to use it. I'm sorry, can you leave these 2 Dragon Balls for me? However, before the Great Elder finished speaking, a figure suddenly broke the window and jumped in. Before the several Namekians in the room could react, he stood in front of Longzhu. The visitor was Chuan. As soon as he arrived outside the window of this room, he heard the Namekians inside discussing how to use the Dragon Balls directly. Is this okay? So he just barged in. Several Namekians were startled, and then they saw Chuan's attire clearly, and they all turned pale with shock. Saiyan. The notoriety of the Saiyans has spread on many planets. The giant apes that invaded Cirel planet this time can be said to have 2 obvious features, and everyone has guessed the identity of the invaders. Although Chuan does not have a tail, he is wearing the same battle uniform as the Saiyans. It is impossible for some Cyrillic to pick up some Saiyan clothes and wear them as a joke, right? Saiyan, don't do anything to the Dragon Balls. In less than a minute, only Chuan and the old Namekian Monet were still awake in the room. The other Namekians had fallen to the ground, unconscious. Chuan did not kill these Namekians, but simply knocked them all unconscious. It's not that Chuan is soft-hearted, but Chuan still needs to leave a Namekian to help him summon the dragon. The Namekian Dragon Ball has a specific summoning spell. It's not like saying, "Come out, Shenlong," like the Earth's Dragon Ball, and the Shenlong will appear, but Chuan has long forgotten the spell to summon the Dragon Ball. After all, who would remember the spell to summon the Dragon Balls when reading comics, let alone read it before time travel? When he saw this plot, Chuan didn't know that he would really have the opportunity to summon the dragon in the future. I didn't kill them, I just wanted to borrow the Dragon Balls. The reason why Chuan kept Monet was very simple. The character of Monet in the original work was very weak, so it was very suitable for Chuan to coerce and induce him. At least he was easier to fool than other Namekians who didn't know the details. As long as you help me summon the dragon, I won't kill them. How about that? You guy, even if you let us go, your Saiyan companions will definitely drive us all away, right? Monet frowned. Although he was weak in character, he was not stupid. Now he could still hear the sound of attacks from the city not far away through the window, and those giant apes were still wreaking havoc in the Cyrillic city. Monet has also heard about the ways of the Saiyans. As minions of Frieza's army, this group of cruel fighting people will drive out all civilizations on the planet until it becomes an uninhabited planet. Although the Saiyan in front of him did not directly kill his people, if there were no Dragon Balls to help resist foreign enemies, those Saiyans would sooner or later drive them all away from the Namekians. It can be said that their only hope for survival now is to use these 2 Dragon Balls to summon Shenron to make a wish. At this juncture, how could he give his hope to the Saiyans who are their enemies? Monet, you have to understand the situation. These 2 Dragon Balls are in my hands now. Even if you don't agree, these 2 Dragon Balls will not return to your hands. Chuan looked at Monet, and the other person's first reaction was rejection, which he expected. After all, Monet at this time must be full of anger and lack of sense. But if you agree to help me summon Shenlong, I will send you to leave this planet temporarily for refuge, so that you Namekians can leave at least one survivor. Chuan's tone was cold, causing Monet, who was already angry, to tremble all over and wake up. Yes, now the Dragon Ball has fallen into the hands of this Saiyan. Even if he doesn't help him summon the dragon, he can't return the Dragon Ball to him. By then, the Namek people on Cirel will be exterminated. And if he agrees to his request, at least he promises to help them leave survivors. Although his conscience is reproached by his embarrassed escape, it is also unacceptable to him to cut off the fire of the Namekians. Do you really agree to let us go? Monet, who had calmed down, looked at Chuan with trembling eyes. If a girl had made this expression, she would have been pitiful, but Monet was just an old man, and Chuan felt a little disgusted by him. Since I agreed, I will definitely do it. Don't worry about that, not to mention you have no other choice. Chuan was playing with 2 small Dragon Balls in his hands. These 2 Dragon Balls were even slightly smaller than the Dragon Balls on Earth, not to mention the Dragon Balls on Namek. Also, what I agree with is to let you go, not to let you go. I only have one spaceship. That's right, The way Qin Chuan said to let Monet go was to use his own spherical spaceship to send Monet away. Those Frieza Army's spherical spaceships can not only set planet coordinates, but also set up automatic navigation. Qin Chuan has set up the spacecraft to automatically fly to the nearest living planet, which is enough for Monet to leave here and take refuge. As for Qin Chuan himself, there is no need to worry. He still remembers that he is in a dream now. After leaving the spaceship for a few hours, he estimates that it is not far away from waking up. Let's take this opportunity to directly make Qin Chuan missing in Frieza's army. Even if Frieza's army pursues the investigation, they will only come to the conclusion that a Saiyan named Qin Chuan encountered an accident during his mission to invade the planet Cirel, and his spaceship was stolen by a refugee. It just so happened that Qin Chuan left an impression on Bardock that the injury has not completely healed yet, which perfectly explained why Qin Chuan had an accident during the mission. I agree. Qin Chuan didn't leave much time for Monet to think about it, and he didn't need Qin Chuan to urge him. Monet quickly gave the answer himself. After all, the explosions and sounds of fighting outside are getting closer and closer. It is obvious that the scope of destruction of the Saiyan giant apes is getting larger and larger. It is estimated that it will not be long before they completely hit the city center from the city center to the periphery. If Monet doesn't make a decision quickly, he may never have the chance to consider it when the giant apes step down. Wise choice. Qin Chuan saw Monet's resigned expression and walked over, holding 2 Dragon Balls in his left hand. He grabbed Monet's collar with his right hand and lifted him up. Then he jumped out of the house and came to a nearby open space, middle. The giant apes and the Cyrillic people are still some distance away from here. And there are no other people around, which is good. After arriving at the open space, Qin Chuan did not forget to use the combat power detector to scan the surrounding area and confirm that no one else was nearby. He remembered that when the Saiyans invaded Cirel, there was a space businessman named Theta who was watching on the planet. The invasion of Cirel was their entrustment to Frieza's army. But obviously, the people from the Sita clan are not around here now, which saves some trouble. After all, the kid named Jiasu from the Sita clan, although his combat power is not as good as Frieza, is not something he can deal with now. Okay, let's call the dragon out. After making sure that there were no other disturbing factors around, Qin Chuan dropped the 2 Dragon Balls in his hand on the ground and said to Monet. Of course he is not afraid of Monet stealing the Dragon Ball. With this guy's double-digit combat power, can he pick up the Dragon Ball and run away? I see. Monet closed his eyes and sighed resignedly, then stretched out his hands to face the 2 Dragon Balls and began to recite the spell to summon the dragon. Takalaput, Tetrombo, Pupili Tepero. The night sky became gloomier, and a mysterious aura emerged from the 2 Dragon Balls as Monet chanted the spell. The next moment, golden lightning surged out from the 2 dragon beads, swirled and intertwined in the air, and finally gathered together, turning into a dragon with a head like a salamander in front of Qin Chuan. This dragon was not as big as the dragons on Earth and Namek, but it still had a special majesty. Facing Qin Chuan and Monet, it slowly spoke and a deep voice sounded. He who has collected 2 Dragon Balls, tell me your wish, and I will try my best to grant you a wish. Qin Chuan was a little excited when he saw the summoned dragon for the first time. After all, it was not the same as watching cartoons. The lightning that pierced the sky began to feel real. However, after the excitement of seeing the dragon for the first time passed, Qin Chuan couldn't hold back, because what the dragon said was actually, I will try my best to fulfill a wish for you. This, as much as possible, immediately puts it apart from other dragons. It sounds like it can't fulfill many of its wishes, so it can only try its best to fulfill them. Although he was complaining in his heart, Qin Chuan's men did not stop. The moment the Cirel Star Dragon was summoned, Qin Chuan struck Monet on the back of the neck with a knife. Thanks to the Namekians in the room who let Qin Chuan practice his skills, Qin Chuan is now able to grasp the power and knock others out without leaving any internal injuries on them. Suddenly being slashed by Qin Chuan, Monet had a stunned expression on his face. He was obviously very confused and even wondered if Qin Chuan was going to break his promise. However, he couldn't ask his doubts, so his body softened and fell to the ground, unconscious, which showed that Qin Chuan's strength was indeed used just right. Don't worry, I won't break my promise to you. Chuan curled his lips. Although Monet could no longer hear him, he still subconsciously explained. The main reason why Monet was knocked unconscious was that Chuan remembered what happened on Namek in the original work. What if Monet made a wish first? This kind of thing happened many times in the original Dragon Ball. Chuan didn't have the ability to read minds, so he didn't know if Monet would do such a thing, so knocking him out was the safest way. Anyway, I just need to stuff this guy into the spaceship and send him away, and it won't be considered a broken promise. Although the Dragon of Cirel requires the use of Namek's spell when summoning it, there are no language restrictions when making a wish. This is also confirmed by the original work. Shenron, can you turn me into a Super Saiyan? Looking up at this dragon, which was weaker than the other dragons, Chuan asked his question directly. That's right, becoming a Super Saiyan is the easiest way to reach the sky in one step. After transformation, Chuan's combat power can be increased to 50 times, and the combat power of 4,000 can be instantly turned into 200,000. Although it is far from the 530,000 that Frieza achieved in the first stage, as long as he can master the Super Saiyan transformation, it means that every 1 point of improvement in Chuan's combat power will become a 50-point improvement. Sorry, this is beyond my capabilities. However, the Shenlong in front of him quickly gave a reply. He couldn't do it with his ability. But if you pay some price, it might be possible. But as this dragon said before, he would try his best to help realize the wish, so after clearly stating his lack of ability, he proposed a solution. In the comics, this dragon once compressed the lifespan of Granola, who may not have had a combat power of 530,000, directly promoted to the number 1 in the universe, which is simply astonishing. What price? Although he already had a vague guess in his mind, Chuan still asked a question. Compressing your lifespan to 1 year will allow you to master the Super Saiyan transformation and increase your strength. Sure enough, this dragon said that he had to pay the price of his lifespan, which made Chuan directly shake his head and refuse. Of course he could not choose to pay the price of his lifespan to improve his strength now. To put it bluntly, the 2-gold divine dragon was originally just one of the ways for him to improve his strength. Even if he didn't have this divine dragon, he would have other alternatives and there would be no need to pay such a huge price. What if after this Saiyan body dies and his synchronization strength disappears? Isn't his work in vain? Is it possible to use Dr. Gero's technology on Earth to turn my body into an artificial human? When the first plan failed, Chuan had another plan in mind, which was Dr. Gero's artificial human transformation technology. The two siblings were originally just ordinary people. After being transformed by Dr. Gero, they went straight to the sky and turned into artificial beings that can hang up and beat Super Saiyans. If this dragon can do it, it will be an option. After all, it is an artificial human. In fact, except for the built-in energy furnace, it is not much different from a real person. Chuan can still accept this change. I'm sorry, I found the Dr. Gero you mentioned, but his android technology has just started. I can't use non-existent technology on you. Shenlong was silent for a moment, then spoke again. That's right. At this point in time, Dr. Gero may still be just an ordinary middle-aged doctor. Bardock's son has just been born. It will be a few years before Dr. Gero will create Android 8, which is far away from number 17 and 18. It's still very early. So, can you get me the spirit tree? After pondering for a while, Chuan once again made a wish, that is, the spiritual tree that appeared in the theatrical version of Dragon Ball. The fruit of the spirit tree, which is fed by absorbing the energy of the entire planet, can greatly increase the combat effectiveness of the eater. If Chuan can obtain a lot of spirit tree fruits, the combat effectiveness can also be greatly improved in a short period of time. Sorry, I haven't heard of the existence of spirit trees. But Shenlong's answer disappointed him again. This Shenlong had never heard of the existence of the spirit tree. Obviously, the world line of the theatrical version and the current world line of Chuan are not the same at all. According to Dragon Ball fans, this is the difference between original animation and official history. At least in this world, the spirit tree does not exist, and it is impossible to rely on the fruits of the spirit tree to improve combat effectiveness. It seems that it is impossible to rely on this divine dragon to greatly increase the combat effectiveness at once. We can only try to do it slowly. Chuan was a little discouraged after making several wishes in a row, but all of them were rejected. He knew that the dragon's wishes were limited, but the dragon's restrictions were too great. It can only be said that it is not unreasonable that this dragon can be summoned with only 2 Dragon Balls. Compared with the Earth Dragon, the Namek Dragon, and even the Super Dragon, the gap is too big. Since the combat effectiveness cannot be improved immediately, let's get something with practical uses first. Then, let me master the teleportation of the Adretites. Is this possible? In the end, Chuan could only put forward this wish. After all, there were too few things that the 2 Gold Dragon could do, so Chuan could only settle for the next best thing. However, there is also a reason for choosing the teleportation of the Adretites. In the Dragon Ball Super comics, the teleportation of the Adrats is essentially the absolute control of Chi. Mastering teleportation also means the absolute control of the Chi in the body. Master. After Sun Wukong learned teleportation from the people of Adrat, his strength reached a new level. That is, he further mastered the control of Chi while practicing teleportation. Later, Vegeta went to the Adretites to practice for a period of time, and in the end he only managed to use teleportation once. In other words, if Chuan can master teleportation, then at least his control of Ki will be much stronger than that of future Vegeta. Really, it's so troublesome. After stuffing Monet into his spherical spaceship, Chuan set the spacecraft to automatically go to the nearest living planet, and finally kicked the door of the spacecraft to close it. Although after some twists and turns, the final wish of teleportation was finally realized by the dragon, and he did not pay any price. And with the mastery of teleportation, Chuan also felt that something seemed to be flowing in his body. That was undoubtedly Chi, which is the embodiment of combat power in Dragon Ball. Although if others use the combat power detector to check Chuan's combat power, it will still show 4000, but with the control of Chi, Chuan can undoubtedly explode with power exceeding this level. And now Chuan can also do things that other Saiyans cannot do, that is, the ability to control the combat power at will, that Vegeta said on Namek. Now Chuan has reduced his combat effectiveness to the lowest level. If he uses a combat effectiveness detector to scan it, he will only get a single-digit value. As long as the other party doesn't come to check it in person, this value may be directly regarded as some kind of beast. It's over faster than I thought. After setting the spherical spacecraft to start flying in 5 minutes, Chuan looked up at the sky. The originally dark night sky had turned dark, and the full moon that originally hung in the sky had disappeared. That was the result of the desperate efforts of the Cirel people. After realizing that the transformation of the giant ape depended on the state of the full moon, the Cirel people used all their strength to directly blow up the full moon. But it is a pity that even if the full moon is lost and the Saiyans return to their human form, the Cirels are still no match for the Saiyans, and they are still gradually sinking under the Saiyan invasion. If nothing unexpected happens, the civilization on Cirel will be completely destroyed soon. As for whether Granola, the survivor in the original work, can survive, Chuan doesn't know. After all, in the original work, Granola survived after being protected by Monet, but now that Monet has been stuffed into the spaceship by him, he may have no chance to protect Granola. Just as Chuan was standing by the spacecraft, waiting for the spacecraft to start, a prompt sounded suddenly in his head, and the prompt window also appeared in Chuan's field of vision. The anti-addiction system reminds you, Dear Mr. Kobold, your playtime has reached 8 hours. From now on, your playing income will be reset to 0, please wait for the next day to refresh the playing time. Quote question mark question mark question mark quote. Seeing this prompt, Chuan was stunned. He had thought of many ways to end today's dream, but he didn't expect it to be to prevent addiction. It is true that Chuan's physical age is technically underage, but this suggestion is still a bit too dramatic. Complaining in his heart, Chuan looked at his panel. At this time, he noticed that as the anti-addiction prompt appeared, there was an extra button at the bottom of his panel. Exit the game. It's really serious. No matter how hard it is, Chuan has nothing to say about this system. Although he has the ability to synchronize power to reality, he still tirelessly claims that it is just a game. But it doesn't matter if it's a game or not, he's the only player in the world anyway. Synchronization of player kobold strength, 0%. Before he was about to exit the game, Chuan still took a look at his strength synchronization situation. As expected, the synchronization rate was still a disastrous 0%. After all, this time with Cirel Star and his party, Chuan only gained teleportation and the control of chi. Although he doesn't know whether working hard to improve his strength counts as advancing the progress of the main story, this improvement is obviously not enough to fill his teeth of. However, Chuan is not discouraged. After all, he has already thought about his next development route. With teleportation in hand, it will be much easier for him to do many things in the future. While he was thinking, 5 minutes passed quickly. The spherical spacecraft in front of him shook violently a few times, then slowly advanced into the sky under Chuan's gaze, and finally quickly left Chuan's sight. What needs to be done is done, then. Standing up, Chuan was ready to quit the game and return to reality. Now that he knows that the anti-addiction time of this game is 8 hours, which is almost exactly the time for sleep, then there is no need to go to bed in advance in the future, he just needs to use the sleep time normally. But as soon as he stood up, Chuan felt a sense of crisis well up in his heart. Before he could think about it, Chuan directly concentrated his energy on his arm and waved hard behind him. Bang! A laser hit Chuan's forearm, but was successfully blocked by Chuan's energy. When Chuan turned around, he realized that the laser was fired by a man holding a laser gun. Hey, Saiyan, why are you alone in a place like this? On the cliff not far away, a man with blue skin and dreadlocks stood there, the muzzle of the laser gun in his hand still faintly exuding heat. Chuan looked at this man. Although he didn't know him, he knew where this guy was. Alec, the leader of the Theta clan, and the leader who collaborated with Frieza's army to invade Cirel, is a cunning businessman, but in contrast, his strength is not that great, and he is the weakest of the Theta clan. What, do you still care about the Saiyans' actions? Chuan looked at Alec, a little surprised that the other party would actually touch here, but it was not a big problem. Chuan's combat power detector showed that Alec's combat power was only over 1,000 years old, so he was indeed not very strong. It was probably because Chuan had just been reading the anti-addiction prompts that he didn't notice anyone approaching. It seemed that he would have to be more vigilant in the future. If it were Chuan who came to Cirel Star, he might have 4,000 combat power, but no skills to take down Alec. But now that he has used the energy in his body like an arm, it is easy to take down Alec, who has 1,000 combat power. After all, Frieza and I are considered partners. If his subordinates are disobedient, of course I have to help control them. Alec obviously has no self-awareness. Although this guy is not strong, he looks down on everyone. In the original work, he even wanted to replace Frieza, but he didn't know that he was completely treated as a clown by Frieza. Is it? Chuan's feet moved slightly. To be honest, since Alec saw him, he couldn't let Alec go, otherwise Chuan's disappearance plan would be ruined. As long as Alec mentions it casually, Frieza will know that there is a Saiyan hiding on Cirel. When Frieza's army launches a manhunt for Chuan cannot guarantee that he will not be discovered. Many of his next plans need to avoid the eyes and ears of Frieza's army, and he cannot let Alec disturb him. This guy happens to be of average strength, so it is perfect for him to practice his skills with. Hey, are you trying to fight me? Alec obviously noticed Chuan's actions and realized that Chuan seemed to be preparing to attack him, and a smile appeared on his lips. Without wearing a combat effectiveness detector, he obviously didn't realize the combat effectiveness gap between himself and Chuan, or in other words, he didn't care about the combat effectiveness gap at all. Chuan did not speak. He looked at Alec's figure and mentally captured Alec's chi. After determining the location of the chi, Chuan directly used the teleportation he had just received from Shenlong. In an instant, Chuan's figure disappeared from the spot, and almost at the same time, a huge fist packed with powerful energy directly hit Alec's face. Alec didn't even notice Chuan's approach at all. When he came to his senses, his face had been completely deformed, and he flew straight out as if he had been hit by a cannonball. Bang! The trees in the distance were smashed to pieces by Alec's body. Alec's body was half lying among the broken wood chips. His eyes looking towards Chuan were full of anger. You, or just a Saiyan. After all, you have more than 1,000 combat capabilities, but you have no ability to resist at all. Chuan didn't care about Alec's scolding at all, because he knew Alec's character very well. This guy even dared to look down on Frieza, and he didn't know where he got his confidence. Perhaps in terms of business ability, Alec does have a good hand, but for Frieza who has sufficient strength, Alec is nothing more than a backup treasury for Frieza no matter how he does business. Using teleportation, Chuan's figure instantly appeared in front of Alec again. But this time, Alec finally reacted. After all, he was a person with a certain fighting ability. After seeing an afterimage suddenly appeared in front of his eyes, he immediately took out his laser gun and fired fiercely in front of him. The laser gun, which has been modified and increased in power, is injected with Alec's energy, and the power it explodes is naturally even more amazing. If it hits the moon in the distance, it must be destructive enough to destroy the moon. However, this continuous shot did not cause any harm to Chuan. Before the laser hit Chuan's body, Chuan controlled his energy to strengthen the corresponding parts and ate the lasers forcefully. This is Chuan's defensive move that imitates the function of Sun Wukong's freedom to the ultimate intention. The difference is that freedom to the ultimate intention is the body's own use of chi to strengthen the corresponding parts to defend and attack, while Chuan calls it manually. Although it requires time to think and cannot automatically improve the strength in all aspects like freedom, it is still a good solution for Chuan who can fully control the chi in his body. At least it allows him to display attack and defense capabilities that exceed the combat power data on paper. You monkey. The attack was completely ineffective. Alec finally panicked, but his mouth was still tough. Even in this situation, he still cursed Chuan. After experimenting with his control of chi in Alec's hands, Chuan was satisfied. This kind of manual freedom and control might also be able to produce good results at critical moments. Walking up to Alec, Chuan stretched out his hand, twisted Alec's neck, and lifted his body up. Wait, we can still discuss. Being picked up by Chuan like a dead dog, Alec finally realized the seriousness of the problem this time, and his tone of voice quickly softened. In the past, relying on his own power, he was invincible in the universe. Even Frieza had to sell himself a bit of face, which made Alec disdainful of people with strength, developing his arrogant character. But it was only now that he finally seemed to realize that some people didn't care about his power at all. No matter how big his business empire was in the universe, others could easily strangle him. If he could escape from Chuan this time, Alec would probably also pay attention to his strength that he had never cared about before. There's nothing to discuss. You don't know me, but I know you very well. Chuan looked at Alec's begging eyes and slowly shook his head. Just as Chuan understood Monet's weak character from the comics, he also understood Alec's character from the comics. Although this guy is very weak, his cunning character is real. If Chuan lets this guy go, he can guarantee that when he goes online again the next day, he will be chased by Frieza's army. After all, Chuan's behavior is undoubtedly a defection from Frieza's army. Frieza cannot tolerate this kind of behavior. Even if Frieza doesn't take action himself, it will be troublesome for some of his leaders to do so. Alec wanted to say something else, but Chuan didn't let him speak anymore. With a strong right hand, Alec's neck suddenly snapped and was completely broken. Throwing Alec's body on the ground, Chuan stretched out his right hand, and a qigong wave emitted from his hand, directly destroying Alec's body, in case Alec had used some method of feigning death to escape. The leader of the Sita clan, who was very famous in the entire universe, died in the corner of the Cirel planet without any incident, without even leaving a body. Cooler than I thought. Chuan looked at his right hand. This hand had just strangled a person to death and then destroyed his body, but Chuan felt very calm. On the one hand, it's because Alec is already full of evil, and he won't feel any guilt if he kills him with his own hands. On the other hand, it's probably also influenced by the Saiyans, a fighting race, to a certain extent. After all, before this, he could already watch coldly as other Saiyans invaded Cyrillic cities. The burst of energy from that qigong wave just now may have attracted others' attention, so we need to leave first. At first, Qin Chuan was going to suppress his anger and pretend that he was a wild animal until he could leave this world. But the plan could not keep up with the change. The appearance of Alec forced Qin Chuan to take action against him. Although Alec was very weak and Qin Chuan did not need to spend a lot of effort, he still needed to use a certain amount of force to kill him. If someone else had used a combat power detector to check the surroundings when he was using Qigong Wave, they would probably have noticed an aura with a combat power of thousands here, so Qin Chuan must leave now. Quit the game. Of course, Qin Chuan doesn't need to suppress his anger and hide now, because the exit game option has been displayed. He can simply exit the game and disappear into this world. Although the main mission may not be advanced tonight and the strength cannot be synchronized back to reality, a good foundation has been laid. Slowly opening his eyes, Qin Chuan found that he had returned to reality. He was just like when he fell asleep before, lying on the warm bed in his pajamas. I picked up the phone next to my pillow and took a look. It clearly showed 6 o'clock. In other words, Qin Chuan has actually slept for 12 hours since he went to bed yesterday, which is a long time of sleep. No wonder he is so energetic now. But this exit is too easy. I thought there would be a settlement screen or something like that. Sitting up from the bed, Qin Chuan stretched, and then couldn't help but complain. According to the systematic descriptions of the novels he had read in the past, shouldn't there be a settlement screen when leaving the mission world? Talk about what he did in the mission world, what changes he made, how many points he earned, and then unlocked a bunch of mall props and the like. But unfortunately, Qin Chuan tried to call the system, but the system did not respond at all, and he died completely. The idea of collecting some points and novice gift packs from the system failed, so Qin Chuan could only get out of bed and prepare to wash up and go to school. This apartment was rented by Qin Chuan. After coming to this world, Qin Chuan had a lot of savings on his card. If he used it normally, it could probably last him until the end of high school. There was no need to rush to work. As for his parents, Qin Chuan had never heard of it at all. There was no parents' number in the contacts on his cell phone. He probably was an orphan. Walking into the bathroom, Qin Chuan picked up the water cup and toothbrush for mouthwash as usual, but soon, Qin Chuan felt a sense of disobedience. My strength seems to have gotten stronger. No, it's not that it's gotten a little bigger, but it's gotten a lot bigger. Qin Chuan frowned slightly and looked at his hand holding the toothbrush. He did not directly break the toothbrush because he failed to control his strength as described in many novels. However, this sudden increase in power was real, not just a toothbrush. He vaguely felt that if he wanted to, he could crush the wall next to him like tofu. Could it be? Qin Chuan, who realized the change, quickly opened the system and looked at his panel. Quest World. Dragon Ball. Main Mission. Destroy Frieza's 100% status. Synchronization of player Kobold Strength. 0%. Players are requested to try their best to advance the main mission and unlock strength synchronization. Still 0%, no change. So where does this power come from? Seeing the huge zero egg on the panel, Qin Chuan was stunned and thought for a while before making a guess. Could it be that 0% actually has a decimal point after it? For example, 0.5% or something like that, but because the panel doesn't display the decimal point, it looks like 0%. Although it was just a guess, Qin Chuan felt that this was the case, otherwise he couldn't explain why his power had become so great. Moreover, the degree of increase in power was quite exaggerated. Apart from the physical synchronization of Saiyans, he really couldn't think of any other possibility. I remember that according to the setting of Dragon Ball, the combat power of an average adult is 5, and my combat power this time is at least 20, maybe it was synchronized with about 0.5% of the strength. Qin Chuan clenched his fists, feeling the power in his body and the qi in his body that he could already sense, and speculated. With the personal experience of having a combat power of 4,000, Qin Chuan can roughly calculate what his current combat power is. Although it may not be accurate, it will not be too different. Although the combat power of the 20th of may not be a big deal in the world of Dragon Ball, in a comprehensive comic book world dominated by modern cities, it is Superboy. With this power, what should I do? After washing up, Qin Chuan returned to the bedroom, packing his school bag and thinking. So far, he has not heard anything special about this world. Apart from a mix of some daily comic characters, everything seems to be peaceful. There are no cannibal ghouls, there is no zombie crisis, and there are no superheroes on the other side of the ocean to maintain world peace. So after thinking for a while, Chuan's final decision was, "That's it for now, let's go to school first." That's right, Chuan really can't imagine what he can do in the real world. He is a person who is more afraid of trouble. Although this power can help him gain fame and wealth quickly, it is too troublesome. He is a person who can get by. Although his combat power of 20 is indeed very strong, he still does not transcend the category of martial arts master. He can block bullets, but it is hard to say that he can block artillery shells. At least it was still far from being able to do whatever he wanted. In this case, there was no need for him to start worrying about it now. It was better to continue to improve his strength and synchronization rate in the dream world. Rather than having fun in the real world, what he cares more about is the main mission of the Dragon Ball world. Frieza, who destroyed 100% of his power, didn't say how the main mission was considered a failure, but if he didn't work hard to advance the main mission, his synchronization rate might only be maintained at 0%. But it seems like teleportation can be used. Picking up his school bag, Chuan tried the teleportation skill in his mind. The next moment, he teleported directly from his bedroom to the living room. Because the synchronization rate is only about 0.5%, the instantaneous movement is not complete, and the distance that can be moved is not far, but it is enough for Chuan in reality. And this, Infinite Horror VR game, since it is said to be infinite horror, there should be other mission worlds to explore. I don't know how to unlock other worlds. After walking out of the house, Chuan walked towards school, constantly thinking about his system in his mind. After all, compared to the peaceful life in the real world, the mission world is obviously much more exciting. Although Chuan is a person who likes a peaceful life in the real world, it does not prevent him from pursuing excitement in the mission world. Becoming a strong man is what every man longs for, and Chuan is no exception. If he has the opportunity to become a Super Saiyan and kill Frieza head-on, who is going all out, it would be very exciting to think about it. Is it automatically unlocked over time? Or does it mean that you have to complete the main mission of one world before you can unlock the next one? If that's the case, then I will probably be stuck in the Dragon Ball world for a long time. Thinking of this, Chuan couldn't help but sigh in his heart. Although Dragon Ball world is very good, it would be a pity if he could not unlock other worlds because the main mission of Dragon Ball world was stuck here. Chapter 11. Hey, Akagi, how was your time at the KTV yesterday? Carrying his school bag and walking into the classroom, Chuan walked to his seat and sat down, then looked at the male classmate named Akagi who was standing not far away. The surname Akagi is quite common, and this male classmate is just an ordinary-looking student, but Chuan heard that he has a cousin who looks like an orangutan and plays well in basketball at another school. This male student named Akagi was the one who Chuan invited him to go to the KTV with before going home yesterday. He also said that someone would invite Kasumagaoka Shiu to go with him. Forget it, Kasumagaoka-senpai didn't come at all. When Akagi heard Chuan's words, his face suddenly fell. He was obviously very disappointed. He had wanted to contact the flower of the high mountain for a long time, but unfortunately he never had the chance. I thought I had a chance to get to know Kasumagaoka Shiu yesterday, but I didn't expect that the student who had vowed to invite her here didn't do it at all. What's worse is that because I said I would invite you, many girls came here for you. As he said that, Chimu raised his head and glanced at Chuan with resentful eyes, gritting his teeth like a resentful woman. After I found out you weren't here, I was hated by several girls. Chuan, it's all your fault. That's just you bragging, you can't blame me. Chuan shrugged. Of course, he could tell that Akagi was simply complaining and was not really dissatisfied with himself, so he responded easily. Who told you to involve Chuan? Don't use other people's names to talk to girls. Several classmates nearby also heard the conversation between Chuan and Akagi, and joined in the fun of teasing Akagi. It was very lively for a while. This is Chuan's situation in school. If we divide the school's student body into classes, Chuan is right in the middle of the pyramid. He won't be as low-level as those who are lonely and bullied, nor will he be as popular as the group centered around Hayama Hayato in the class. Overall, he will be at a relatively moderate level. Even if Chuan's outstanding appearance occasionally attracts more or less attention from others, it will not be too out of the ordinary. If I have to say it, it's probably a bit like Kira Yoshikage. He obviously has the capital to enter the top group of the pyramid, but he still chooses to maintain himself at a middle level. Just as Chuan was chatting with other students, he was keenly aware that someone had sat down in the seat in front of him. In order to exercise his control over Qi, in reality, Chuan now maintains his awareness of the Qi around him almost all the time, and any change can cause him to notice it. This time, Chuan naturally noticed the Qi in front of his seat, but soon, Chuan discovered a problem. That is, he seemed to have never noticed who was sitting in the seat in front of him before. Chuan's memory is not bad. Although his test scores are always in the middle, if he is willing, it is not a problem to be among the top. With such a good memory, he shouldn't even forget who is sitting in the seat in front of him, but the fact is that he really doesn't seem to pay much attention to this matter. But when Chuan saw clearly the girl sitting in front of him, he understood. Kato Megumi. The heroine in a work I watched in my previous life was characterized by a presence that was very easy to ignore, even to the point of being ignored as if she had special powers. If he hadn't noticed Kato Megumi's presence by sensing her Qi, I'm afraid Chuan would have continued to ignore the girl sitting in the seat in front of him. She is obviously a very good-looking girl, but because of her strangely low presence, she has never been noticed by others. Probably noticing Chuan's gaze, Kato K, who was sitting in the front seat, turned around and met Chuan's eyes. Classmate Chuan, are you looking at me? If it were an ordinary girl, she would probably be a little dissatisfied if she was stared at like this. Of course, girls with good looks might be happy to be stared at by Chuan because of his appearance. However, when Kato Megumi asked this question, it obviously did not have these meanings. She was simply expressing her surprise. After all, no one had ever stared at her for so long before. Kato Megumi's expression looked very indifferent, making it impossible to guess what she was thinking at this time. Was she happy because of Chuan's gaze, or a little angry? Even her speech was so calm. Yeah, because I didn't pay much attention to Kato-san sitting in front of me before. Chuan smiled when he heard this and also gave an answer. In the past, because of Kato Megumi's low sense of presence, he had never noticed her, but now that he has the ability to sense Qi, Kato Megumi's presence is very conspicuous in his perception. You'll lose your favor by talking to a girl like that. Kato Megumi frowned hard, probably trying to make a slightly angry expression, but because he was too deliberate, he actually looked a little cute. Obviously, she did not lose her favorability because of Chuan's words. It would be better to say that she had long been used to being ignored. She was actually a little happy that Chuan could notice her at this time. If Chuan can talk to me more in the future, I might be very happy. But despite saying this, Kato Megumi felt that this time Chuan could notice him and say a few words to him, and he was only aware of his existence accidentally. After a while, Chuan will probably not notice his presence again, so Kato Megumi didn't hold much hope when he said this. Really? Then I will accept this invitation. Chuan also felt a trace of regret in Kato Megumi's words, and roughly guessed Kato Megumi's thoughts, but he would not ignore Kato Megumi's existence now, so he could naturally agree. Chuan, please accompany me to a place after school today. At this moment, Akagi abruptly interrupted the conversation between Chuan and Kato Megumi, clasped his hands and asked Chuan. It's not that he was rude and deliberately interrupted the conversation between the two, but he was completely unaware of Kato Megumi's existence, and he didn't realize that Chuan was chatting with Kato Megumi just now. Megumi Kato was already used to it. She smiled at Chuan, then turned around and started arranging the textbooks to prepare for class. Chuan, who was interrupted from his conversation with Megumi Kato, looked at Akagi angrily and asked helplessly. Where to? Because he knew that the time to go to the mission world was 8 hours, Chuan was not in a hurry to go back and go to bed early today, and just followed his usual schedule. Service Ministry. Seeing that Chuan seemed to agree, Chimu suddenly became excited and quickly stated his destination. Because Chuan usually goes home directly after school and rarely acts with everyone, so Akagi actually didn't have high expectations for inviting Chuan this time. But for some reason, Chuan seemed to have suddenly changed his gender, and actually asked where he was going, which made Chimu feel excited. The main reason is that although Chuan behaves very normally, Akagi knows very well that Chuan's actual ability is stronger than what he shows, so with Chuan following him, he feels more confident. Service Department. Chuan was a little surprised when he heard Akagi's answer. Of course he knew this name, and it was also a club that appeared in a work in his previous life. The founder is Yukinoshita Yukino, who is also a very famous girl in school. She has good academic performance and is not polite to the people around her. On the contrary, it attracts many people's attention. Of course, because of her character of not caring much about others, many people were quite unhappy with her. Even though she was outstanding in appearance and talent, she was still an out-and-out problem child in the eyes of many teachers. Chuan's class teacher Shizuka Hiratsuka is one of these teachers. Shizuka Hiratsuka, who is very concerned about the mental health of students, has tried to solve Yukinoshita Yukino's problematic child's personality more than once. The method she came up with in the original work was to throw another problem child into the service club, established by Yukinoshita Yukino, and let the two problem children join the group to keep warm. Chuan didn't know what she was thinking, but I'm afraid this action would be impossible in this world. Because Chuan had never heard of the male protagonist who was called the Great Sensei by readers in his previous life, Hikigaya Hachiman. After all, this is not Sobu High School, but a private Toyosaki school. Students with different works are crowded into one school, and naturally some students will be squeezed out of the school's quota. Hikigaya Hachiman might have been unlucky and entered another school. As for Chuan, because his behavior in school is very normal, he will not be regarded as a problem child by Hiratsuka Shizuka, nor will he be forcibly thrown into the service department by her. To be honest, although Yukinoshita Yukino's appearance of a high mountain flower in the work is quite lovable, Chuan feels that it might not feel too good in actual contact with her. Even if you don't pay attention to outside news, you must have heard of it, right? After all, this is the club established by Yukinoshita Yukino. With an eager smile on his face, Akagi extended a warm invitation to Chuan. Many people have heard about the service department. Yukinoshita Yukino said that the service department will lend a helping hand to those who encounter difficulties. Students can come to the service department if they have any entrustments. However, Akagi is obviously a drunkard who doesn't care about drinking. At first glance, this guy simply wants to see Yukinoshita Yukino, who is usually difficult to get in touch with. To be fair, Akagi's condition is not bad. It may be a family inheritance. This guy has very good athletic ability and is not as strong as a gorilla like his cousin. Such a standard image of a sports boy makes Akagi still marketable among some girls. If this guy is willing, he can still have a cute girlfriend and spend the ups and downs of high school life. However, this guy is too ambitious and always wants to get in touch with the famous girls in the school, but in the end he fails to get what he wants. This was true for Kasumigaoka Shu, whom I mentioned yesterday, and this is also true for Yukinoshita Yukino this time. I heard that this guy even ran to join the art club in order to meet another famous girl from the school, Sawamura Spencer Erie, but was kicked out by the art club. The reason was that this guy couldn't hold back and ate all the fruits in the art department. In the end, he ran away without even seeing Yinglili's face, and was ridiculed by his classmates for a long time. Although I know your purpose, you have to think of a good reason for going to the service department, right? Chuan looked at Chimu and said helplessly, "The service department is the place where students receive their entrustments. If you run over there and you can't say anything about the entrustment, you might be kicked out by Yukinoshita, right?" After Chuan said this, Chimu's expression suddenly changed. He probably thought of his past when he was exposed by the art department, and he nodded seriously. "That's true. Then how about I let the people from the service department teach me how to play football? You are the ace of the football club, right? Let the people from the service club teach you how to play football. Are you sure you are not stirring up trouble?" Chuan held his forehead with a headache. Akagi joined the football club in school and was one of the aces in the football club. There were few players in the entire school who were stronger than him in football. Is this guy planning to let Yukinoshita Yukino teach him how to play football? Are you sure you're not here to cause trouble? But even though Akagi was so out of tune, Chuan still decided to accompany him to the service department. After all, even if he didn't follow, Akagi would probably go to the service department alone. Instead of doing this, he might as well follow him. On the one hand, this guy Akagi would not be too embarrassed. On the other hand, he also wanted to see Yukinoshita Yukino, a character he had seen in the work in his previous life. Okay, it's settled. I'll think hard about what entrustment I want to give Yukinoshita today, and then I'll get rid of Chuan after school and you go with me. After knowing that Chuan would go to the service department with him, Akagi's confidence increased a lot. It seemed that he also knew how unreliable he was, and Chuan could help him calm down the situation. You should study hard. Chuan couldn't help but complain. Listening to Akagi's words, it seemed that he had been thinking about what to entrust to the service department all day, and he probably couldn't learn enough. Are Chuan-san also interested in Yukinoshita-san? After Akagi left, Kato Megumi, who was sitting in the front seat, couldn't help but turn around and ask. She also heard the conversation between Akagi and Chuan just now, and she also knew that Chuan was going to go to the service department with Akagi after school. Akagi's idea can be said to be very obvious, but Chuan's idea is not so clear, so Kato Megumi is obviously a little curious about whether Chuan is going for Yukinoshita Yukino. Kato Megumi was a little concerned about Chuan, a boy who noticed her presence and took the initiative to talk to her. It's true that I'm interested. But it may not be the same interest as you imagine. Chuan also smiled and replied that he had more of a mentality towards Yukinoshita Yukino, wanting to see what the characters in the illustrations look like in reality, which was different from Akagi. If it were in the past, he probably would not take the initiative to contact those more famous girls in order to ensure a peaceful life, but now his mentality is much more relaxed. Probably because of his strength, he is not as cautious as before. Is that so? Kato Megumi's expression seemed a little confused. She certainly didn't understand what Chuan meant. Today's class ends here. Students can be dismissed. The peaceful day of classes came to an end soon. Hiratsuka Shizuka picked up the book and glanced at the students under the podium, finally resting on Akagi. Some students have been absent-minded all day today. It's best not to let me catch them a second time. Everyone burst into laughter after hearing this. Everyone knew who Hiratsuka Shizu was talking about. It was Akagi who had been thinking about what commission to send to the service department all day today. The reason why Akagi's absent-mindedness was known to all the students is also very simple. This guy was picked up to answer questions in math class. When answering a multiple-choice question, he gave an earth-shattering answer. Mediterranean. The math teacher, who was already bald as a Mediterranean at that time, was so angry that his entire face turned red. This incident would probably make Akagi laugh until the end of the semester. Chuan didn't know what was going on in Akagi's head, and what kind of entrustment he wanted to give to the service department before he could blurt out an answer like, Mediterranean. But maybe if Akagi makes mistakes like today a few more times, he will be classified as a problem child by Hiratsuka Shizuka, and he might be thrown into the service department one day. Of course, Akagi obviously doesn't know that being a problem child has such benefits. Kato, I'm leaving first, see you tomorrow. Chuan packed his school bag and said goodbye to Kato Megumi in the front row. Now with his ability to sense chi, Kato Megumi's presence is no different from that of ordinary people. Okay, classmate Chuan, see you tomorrow. Kato Megumi turned around in surprise, probably because she didn't expect Chuan to actually notice her and say hello to her. She originally thought it was just a coincidence that Chuan noticed her this morning. After all, occasionally other people did notice her unexpectedly for various reasons, but it didn't take long for them to ignore her again. But now it seemed that Chuan had really been paying attention to her, which made her a little surprised and a little happy at the same time. Although she had long been used to being ignored, it didn't mean that she didn't want anyone to notice her at all. Chuan's attention gave her a rare feeling of being noticed. Chuan, let's go. However, Qin Chuan seemed to be the only one who noticed her. Akaji walked over and didn't seem to notice Qin Chuan saying goodbye to Kato Megumi at all. He couldn't wait to go to the service department with Qin Chuan. At the door of the service department, Qin Chuan and Chimu stood here without knocking on the door directly. The reason was simple. After the two of them came to the door, they heard someone talking inside the door, indicating that there were other guests in the service department. Out of politeness, Qin Chuan naturally stopped at the door and waited, and at the same time, he stopped Chimu, who was about to push the door directly in. Akaji is embarrassed, doesn't he? The person who accompanied Akaji also appeared to be embarrassed. So Qin Chuan could only take care of Chimu. But Akaji, who was pulled back, obviously noticed something else. Qin Chuan, why did your strength suddenly become so strong? He looked at Qin Chuan's right hand with some curiosity. Just now Qin Chuan's right hand grabbed his collar and pulled him back, almost causing him to fall to the ground. Although Akaji is a bit unruly, he is still quite confident in his own strength. Being able to pull himself back so easily shows that Qin Chuan is very strong. I'm just exercising. Of course, Qin Chuan couldn't say, this is my combat power synchronized from another world, and just casually use the excuse of exercise to pass it by. The power brought by 20 combat power is indeed very strong, but just by pulling Akaji back, Akaji would not realize that Qin Chuan has become a macho man who can catch bullets. While the two were talking, the door to the service department was opened, and a black-haired girl walked out with her head lowered and a look of panic on her face. When she saw two people standing at the door, the girl was obviously startled and shrank her body. Then she bowed to Qin Chuan and Akaji and trotted away from them. Oh, it's Yotsuya Miko from Class D. Unlike Qin Chuan, Chimu, who was usually more outgoing, had acquaintances in many classes, so he also got to know the students in some classes. He recognized the girl who ran away in a panic. Miko Yotsuya. Hearing Akaji say the girl's name, Qin Chuan's expression suddenly became strange. The reason is that Yotsuya Miko is also a character in a comic book that Qin Chuan read in his previous life. But that comic is not very ordinary, because the setting in that comic is that there are evil spirits invisible to ordinary people everywhere in this world. These evil spirits usually do no harm to people, but if they confirm that someone can see them, they will attack those people. Yotsuya Miko is the unlucky guy who can see evil spirits. What's even worse is that although Yotsuya Miko suddenly awakened the eyes that can see evil spirits, she did not awaken the ability to deal with evil spirits. So after that, Yotsuya Miko could only pretend not to see those evil spirits, and forced to live a normal life surrounded by countless evil spirits. Judging from the timid and panicked look of Yotsuya Miko just now, she should have been able to see evil spirits. She came to the service department this time, maybe she wanted to see if the service department had any solutions. Evil spirit. Qin Chuan frowned slightly. He looked around but saw nothing. This is the flaw of the Dragon Ball world. Relying on the power of Qi, the warriors in the Dragon Ball world have extremely exaggerated physical strength and can release Qigong waves, but they have no achievements in terms of spirit and soul. The most typical example is that the souls of cosmic overlords such as Frieza can only be bound by the King of Hell in Hell after death, which shows the flaws in their souls. This situation has not been resolved until Dragon Ball Super. From the time Son Goku and Vegeta became Super Saiyan gods, their souls began to transform from humans to gods. Until then, their souls gradually became stronger, but this is obviously not something Qin Chuan can consider now. He can't even change into Super Saiyan 1, so it is naturally impossible to think about Super Saiyan God. Although there is no direct connection between Super Saiyan God and Super Saiyan transformation, the ritual of Super Saiyan God requires 6 upright Saiyans to concentrate the energy of their hearts of justice into one person. Among the Saiyans of that era in the current Dragon Ball world, find 6 who are honest in heart. I'm afraid even Bardock doesn't meet this condition. Concentrating Qi on both eyes can improve dynamic vision, but evil spirits cannot be seen. It seems that the spirit and soul need to be strengthened. Finally, he tried to use Qi to strengthen his eyes, but he didn't see anything. Qin Chuan also understood in his heart where his current shortcomings were. After knowing that the world might be full of evil spirits, he certainly couldn't remain indifferent. Chuan felt very uncomfortable when he thought that those disgusting things might be around him now. I don't know when the second world will be unlocked. Maybe it can solve my needs in this regard. Please come in. As Yukinoshita Yukino's cold voice sounded, Chuan and Akagi walked into the service department room. Just as Chuan thought, there was only Yukinoshita Yukino in the service department. It seems that the great teacher, Hikigaya Hachiman in the original work is really not in this school, otherwise Hiratsuka Shizuka may have thrown him in. So, do you have anything to entrust? Yukinoshita Yukino's eyes swept across Chuan and Akagi's bodies, and paused for a moment on Chuan's body. Everyone is a visual animal, and even Yukinoshita Yukino is unavoidable. Compared with Akagi, Chuan is obviously more in line with her aesthetics, so she let her take a closer look. But Yukinoshita Yukino was not a nymphomaniac, and she didn't really care about skinny things like appearance, so she quickly withdrew her gaze and asked the two of them questions. Tell me what you want to entrust. Chuan glanced at Chimu next to him. He didn't know what Chimu was planning to entrust. He couldn't really entrust the Mediterranean Sea. Actually, probably because he finally met Yukinoshita Yukino, Akagi's face even showed a feeling of having no regrets in this life. He coughed twice, and then spoke out his commission loudly, as if he had prepared a speech for a long time. I want to entrust the service department to help me chase a girl. As soon as Akagi's commission came out, Yukinoshita Yukino, as the entrustee, didn't feel anything. On the contrary, Chuan, who was standing next to him, was a little surprised. It was no wonder that he was surprised. After all, Akagi was determined to meet the famous beautiful girls in the school, so Chuan always felt that this guy was not trying to pursue them. But now facing Yukinoshita Yukino, Akagi actually said that he wanted to pursue other girls. Of course, if it were someone else, Chuan might also think, could this guy mean chasing Yukinoshita when he said he was chasing girls? But Akagi probably didn't have the brains to beat around the bush. If Akagi really wanted to pursue Yukinoshita, Bajang would have directly said, please date me. So what Akagi says now about chasing a girl should indeed mean chasing other girls. Oh, are you chasing girls? Who do you want to chase? Yukinoshita Yukino nodded when he heard the words, and seemed to be a little interested. The theme of campus love has always been a favorite of young men and women. Yukinoshita Yukino is also a female high school student, so it is normal for her to be interested. After all, although Yukinoshita Yukino behaves very coldly, her inner world is actually quite rich. It's a girl who often comes to watch the football team train. Akagi showed a rare shy expression and scratched his head, seeming to be a little embarrassed when talking about that girl. Chuan on the side looked at Akagi who was behaving like this, and he also showed an expression as if he had seen a ghost. He was just wondering whether this other girl was Kasumagaoka Shuoriri, but he didn't expect it to be neither. It seems that although Akagi is very keen to meet these beautiful girls, he has not thought about pursuing them. Maybe he just wants to meet idols. He is just the ace of the football club, and his idol is not a football star, but a beautiful girl from school, which is really weird. A girl who often watches football club training. I see, you are from the football club. At first glance, Akagi looked like an athletic boy, and Yukinoshita Yukino immediately realized that he was a member of the football club. However, Yukinoshita Yukino is not interested in football after all, so she doesn't know that Akagi can be called the ace in the football club. What's that girl's name? Which class is she in? Do you know? I have no idea, Akagi said awkwardly. Although he fell in love with the girl, he had obviously never spoken to her. In fact, Akagi is the ace of the football club. If the girl is really interested in football, there is a high probability that Akagi will be able to successfully strike up a conversation with her. It's just that Chimu is usually very cheeky, but unexpectedly shy at critical moments, which surprises Chuan. I understand, it seems we have to start with the most basic information. Yukinoshita Yukino nodded, roughly understanding Akagi's situation. A young boy in the football club became interested in the girls watching the football, but he was too shy to talk to her, so he had to ask for help, a very naive reason. This kind of entrustment is not difficult. Yukinoshita Yukino quickly made a decision. You're going to the football club for training later. Will that girl come? I really have to go to the football club for training later. As for that girl, she should be here, right? She has been here almost every day during this period. Akagi was stunned, then nodded quickly and replied. Well, you go to the football club for training. I will help you contact the girl and understand the situation. Yukinoshita Yukino is a person who does what she says. After confirming the plan, she made the decision directly. Now, don't you have to watch the service department? Chuan asked curiously. Going to the football department now means that the service department is empty now. Now there is no Hikigaya Hachiman or other members in the service department. Only Yukinoshita Yukino is guarding it. If she leaves, there will be no one in this department. There is nothing we can do about it. Handling the commission is the job of the service department. If someone really needs help from the service department, and we didn't find anyone this time, we will come again next time. Yukinoshita Yukino replied lightly and looked at Chuan. You are his friend too, do you want to help? Chuan thought for a while. Since the time to enter the dream world was only 8 hours, which perfectly covered the sleeping time, there seemed to be no reason for him to go home early. Because he still has a lot of money in his bank card, he doesn't need to work outside of school, so even if he goes home now, he just sits at home and plays games. Although Akagi is a little out of line, thanks to his popularity in school as a lubricant, Chuan can integrate into some groups in the class more smoothly, so in Chuan's view, Akagi is indeed his friend. Since his friend is in need, he has no reason to refuse. No problem, I just want to see what kind of girl Akagi is interested in. Very well, let's go. Yukinoshita Yukino nodded, stood up naturally, and walked in the front. Chuan and Akagi followed subconsciously, and then they were both stunned and looked at each other. Yukinoshita Yukino seemed to be the leader among them with just a few words. I have to admit that Yukinoshita Yukino's aura is quite strong. When we arrived at the stadium, it was Akagi's home court. After meeting the members of the football club, Akagi quickly started training with the players. Chuan and Yukino, on the other hand, stood on the side of the court, watching Akagi's active figure on the court, and began to complete Akagi's commission. Chuan-san, is Akagi-san's football skills considered good? Yukinoshita Yukino stood on the side of the court, watching everyone coming and going in the court, and raised her doubts. I don't know much about football, the rules or anything like that. Indeed, Yukinoshita Yukino does not seem to be the type who is very interested in football. She is more like a typical talented girl. Talking to her about studying is more correct than talking about football. It's quite impressive. After all, he is still the ace player of the football club. Chuan looked at Chimu in the stadium, touched his chin and said. In fact, from his current perspective, everyone's movements on the football field can be called slow motion, but after all, he is no longer an ordinary person. From the perspective of a high school student, Akagi's level is obviously worthy of the title of ace, and his performance is quite outstanding. But I don't know if it was because Yukinoshita Yukino appeared on the side of the court. Chuan always felt that other people on the court were also a little enthusiastic. It was as if she wanted to show off in front of this snow girl who was rarely seen. Unfortunately, their performance did not attract Yukino's attention. She was immersed in the service department's commission and had actually been looking at the people around the stadium. According to Akagi, what he wants to pursue is a girl who comes to watch the football club train every day during this period. I remember Akagi-san said that girl had short pink hair. Yukinoshita Yukino's eyes kept scanning around the stadium. Because the stadium was large, she couldn't identify the target immediately. Over there, however, Chuan immediately noticed the target girl, patted Yukino's shoulder, and then pointed in a direction. Yukinoshita Yukino was stunned, and followed Chuan's fingers, and sure enough, he found a girl with short pink hair in a corner of the court, looking at the football club members running on the court. Chuan's eyes are very good. Yukinoshita Yukino glanced at Chuan, but she didn't expect him to find his target at a glance. My perception is pretty good. Chuan did not deny that he had the ability to sense chi, and could instantly confirm the breath of everyone on the side of the court, so he could also identify the target he was looking for faster. Is that so? Yukinoshita Yukino didn't comment, walked directly towards the girl, and said to Chuan. Then, leave the conversation with that girl to me. Indeed, it would be better for Yukinoshita Yukino, who is also a girl, to get information from girls. If Chuan rushes to get information from others, rumors will spread the next day. After all, Chuan's appearance is quite outstanding, and he is quite popular among many girls. There must be many people who are willing to discuss his gossip. But in this case, the fact that Yukinoshita Yukino and I appeared together on the sidelines of the court will be spread as some kind of rumor. Thinking of this, Chuan suddenly realized that it seemed easy for others to misunderstand that he and Yukino were standing together on the edge of the court. Don't underestimate the gossip consciousness of Neon High School students. Traveling together between men and women is already just one step away from dating among many people. Yukinoshita Yukino didn't seem to realize the problems caused by her appearance alongside Chuan just now, but even if there were rumors, she probably wouldn't pay attention to them. Chuan watched Yukinoshita Yukino go to the girl and start talking to her, while he continued to stay where he was and waited for her to come back. However, Yukino hadn't come back yet, and Akagi came over first. After playing for a while, it was half-time, and Akagi took the opportunity to run over and ask about the progress. Yukoshita is asking for information from the other party. Let's wait until she comes back. Chuan pointed to the location of Yukinoshita Yukino and the girl with short pink hair, and said to Akagi. It's that girl, right? Don't ask the wrong person then, it will be too embarrassing. Yes, that's her. She has been coming back every day to watch the football team train. Akagi nodded hurriedly, confirming that Chuan and Yukinoshita Yukino had not found the wrong person. Speaking of Chuan, do you think she likes me? Akagi, there are so many people in the football club, how can you be sure that she is here to see you? Although Chuan felt that it was not good to attack his friends, Akagi's mysterious confidence was so full that Chuan felt that he could not let this guy be too confident. If that girl has no interest in Akagi at all, wouldn't Akagi be hit hard? It's better to give him a vaccination here first to prevent his psychological gap from getting too big. I'm not that bad either. Akagi turned back and looked at the big and powerful football club members on the court. To be honest, Akagi's looks were already quite good compared to them. It's no wonder that Akagi has such a mysterious confidence, it all depends on the support of his members. Compared to this, Yukinoshita-san coming to the stadium makes these guys very excited. After comparing with other football club members and finding confidence, Akagi changed the topic again and talked about Yukinoshita Yukino. Obviously, Chuan's feeling just now was right. The football club members on the court really burst out with amazing enthusiasm because of the appearance of Yukinoshita Yukino. Chuan gave his own evaluation of their behavior. Exhibiting oneself in front of a female in courtship behavior, stupid male animal. Aren't you a male? Chimu looked at Chuan speechlessly. Why was this guy so crazy that he even scolded himself? And several people have asked me to ask you if you have anything to do with Yukinoshita. As he spoke, Akagi showed an expression of curiosity, as if he also wanted to know the answer. It's okay if those football club members don't know. Don't you still know? Chuan glared at Chimu angrily. Not only is this the first time I've met Yukinoshita today, but I was even dragged here by you. What relationship can I have with her? That feels good, right? Akagi said lines that were like a NPC sketch, and poked Chuan with his arm, looking like, I understand everything. You patted Yukinoshita on the shoulder just now, right? Are you a primary school student? Can a tap on the shoulder make you think of these messy things? Chuan kicked Akagi in the butt. Even though there was no force, the huge force of the kick made him stagger and forced him back to the court. Your teammates are calling you. Go and continue training. When you finish training, we will tell you the information collected by Yukinoshita. Akagi was rushed back to continue training with the football club members, and Yukinoshita Yukino returned to Chuan not long after. How's it going? Have you asked? Chuan looked at Yukinoshita Yukino with some curiosity and asked her about her inquiry. Chuan actually had to question whether Yukinoshita Yukino could get any useful information. After all, judging from the original work, Yukinoshita Yukino was quite cold. Although Chuan knew that she was essentially cold on the outside and hot on the inside, it was probably okay to say that she had communication difficulties. Even acquaintances would be easily choked by her if they couldn't keep up with her rhythm. However, Chuan saw that the girl just now had a pretty good chat with Yukino. It seemed that the other girl was the type who could keep up with Yukino's rhythm. To put it simply, he is the type who is not very self-centered and is good at echoing what others say. If the other person is also a straightforward person, then there is a high probability that he will quarrel with Yukino. Certainly, Yukino raised her eyebrows, actually holding a small notebook in her hand. This guy not only asked for information, but even wrote it down in the notebook. This surprised Chuan. He didn't seem to see Yukino holding a notebook during the conversation just now, and he didn't know when he wrote it. But that's also because Chuan didn't pay attention to Yukino, otherwise with his ability to sense chi, Yukino wouldn't be able to hide any little moves from him. Tamiya Shion is a student in Class C of the first year of high school. Because his father was a football player and his brother also likes football, he has also liked watching boys play football since he was a child. Opening the small book, Yukino read out the information she had just collected as if reading from a text. It seems that he is interested in becoming the manager of the football department, but he has a shy personality, so he has never dared to submit an application. He can only watch the football department training on the sidelines every day, and mentally assume that he is what he would do if he were the manager of the football department. So, when she came to see the football club's training, she wasn't actually interested in any boy, but was interested in football. Chuan scratched his head, wondering for a moment whether this was a good thing or a bad thing for Chimu. The good thing is that this girl named Tamiya Shion doesn't like anyone else in the football club. The bad thing is that she also has no interest in Akagi. She is interested in the sport of football and the football club. That's right, so I accepted Tamiya Shion's request and decided to help her join the football department and become the football manager. Yukino nodded with satisfaction, then closed the notebook in his hand and quickly announced a new decision. So you took on a new commission while collecting intelligence. Chuan looked at Yukino speechlessly. This guy was really helpful. Akagi hadn't finished the commission yet, so he took on a new commission by the way. Because the commissions of Akagi-san and Tamiya-san do not conflict, they can even be said to be complementary. Yukino gave her reasons very seriously. She has such a serious character, and she didn't just accept Tamiya Shion's commission on a whim. Allowing Tamiya-san to join the football club as a manager will also create opportunities for Akagi-san to get along with each other. Don't you think this is killing two birds with one stone? That's true, but I don't think the two of them can get along much even if they are in the same club. Chuan also admitted that what Shueno said made sense, but he also put forward his own opinion. You also said that Tamiya-san is too shy to even submit an application to the football club, and that guy Akagi is also timid at critical moments and has never dared to talk to Tamiya-san. Are you sure? Can the two of them chat? Indeed, their two personalities are a problem. Even if they are put together, they may not talk to each other. If other football team members interfere, the commission will fail. Yukino pondered for a moment and realized the problem. There is still a possibility of solving Tamiya-san's problem. I have obtained her contact information and can ask her out privately to train her character. Did you even get your contact information? Chuan's eyes suddenly changed when he looked at Yukino. This guy, if he wasn't a girl, would be really good at striking up conversations. A girl he met for the first time easily got her contact information. However, if Yukino was not a girl, Tamiya Shion would not let down her guard so easily. But Akagi-san is not easy to deal with. After all, he is a boy, and I don't know much about boys' personalities. Although Yukino could guide Tamiya Shion, she was a little helpless against Akagi, so after thinking about it, she turned her attention to Chuan. What do you think I'm doing? I'm not a member of the service department. Seeing Yukino looking over, Chuan quickly said, this guy's eyes looked like he wanted to catch a strong man. Classmate Chuan, classmate Akagi is your friend after all. If your friend is in trouble, shouldn't you help him? Seeing Chuan's expression as if he had seen a savage beast, Yukino was also a little helpless. I don't think Akagi needs my intervention. Although that guy is timid, as long as he is delayed, he will take the initiative sooner or later. Chuan shook his head. He had been in contact with Akagi for a while, and he had some understanding of Akagi's situation. He knew that even if Akagi missed the possibility of this love affair, it would not have any impact on him. But this way the commission from the Ministry of Service will not be fulfilled. However, Yukinoshita Yukino was obviously not satisfied with this result. Having established the service department, of course she wanted to complete the assignments of her classmates as successfully as possible. First tell me what you are going to do if I help. Chuan thought for a while. Although he had no obligation to help Yukinoshita Yukino complete the commission, since his friends were involved, it was not impossible for him to help him this time. Anyway, he would definitely not be willing to keep working for the service department, but he was not opposed to helping Akagi for once. It's very simple. Since you are worried that the two of them will not be able to talk smoothly after joining the football department, then directly create an opportunity for the two of them to talk alone. Seeing that Chuan seemed to be relieved, Yukinoshita Yukino also breathed a sigh of relief, and then told her plan. This weekend, I will ask Tamaya-san out, and you will ask Akagi-san out. After that, the two of us will leave first and let them stay together. After hearing Yukinoshita Yukino's plan, Chuan fell silent. He felt that the plan was a bit too childish. Not to mention whether Akagi and Tamaya Shion would disband after he and Yukino left. Even if they didn't disband, would Tamaya Shion really be interested in Akagi? After all, judging from Yukinoshita Yukino's introduction just now, Tamaya Shion doesn't seem to have any intention of falling in love. But seeing Yukinoshita Yukino's expression that seemed confident about her plan, Chuan quickly understood. This Yukinoshita Yukino, after all, is just a dog-headed military counselor who has never been in love. Although he was very unfavorable about the plan proposed by Yukinoshita Yukino, Chuan thought about it and gave a response that still agreed. Okay, then you call me when you are ready to implement the plan over the weekend. I happen to have some things to deal with over the weekend, and I will have an excuse to leave them both. There is no way. Yukinoshita Yukino is a dog-headed military counselor who has never been in love. Has Chuan already been in love? Chuan himself is also a novice who knows nothing about love. He is not much different from Yukinoshita Yukino in essence. If I have to say it, at least he will not make plans for others as confidently as Yukinoshita Yukino. But if he doesn't agree with Yukinoshita Yukino's plan, and Chuan himself can't come up with any good plan, then the atmosphere will most likely become very awkward. So in order not to be ridiculed by Yukinoshita Yukino, Chuan simply agreed to her plan. Anyway, everyone is happy when the plan succeeds, but when the plan fails, Yukino, Akagi, and Tamaya are also embarrassed. What does it have to do with Chuan? However, after agreeing to Yukinoshita Yukino's plan, Chuan found that the other party was still staring at him, and couldn't help but subconsciously raised his hand and touched his face. Why are you looking at me like this? Is there something on my face? Give me your contact information. Otherwise, how can I inform you about the weekend? Are you dreaming? Yukinoshita Yukino also had a speechless expression. She waited for a long time with her mobile phone in her hand. Unexpectedly, Chuan didn't react at all. Shouldn't a boy be more proactive about exchanging contact information? Why did she have to speak in the end? Only then did Chuan react, and he quickly took out his mobile phone and exchanged contact information with Yukinoshita Yukino. While exchanging contact information, Chuan also subconsciously glanced at Yukinoshita Yukino's mobile phone screen. There was only a few contact information on it, one of which was Tamaya Shion's name that had just been filled in. Thinking about it, Yukinoshita Yukino's previous way of life didn't look like she could make many friends, so naturally she didn't have a few people on her contact list. Even the only male among her contacts is her father. Chuan is probably the first contact of a boy of the same age in her mobile phone. As the football club's training ended, Chuan and Yukinoshita Yukino also disbanded. Yukinoshita Yukino said that she would go back and think carefully about how to bring Akagi and Tamaya together, and let Chuan pay attention to her contact at any time. In this regard, Chuan could only say that she was happy, for the plan of Yukinoshita Yukino, a newbie in love, Qin Chuan also had the idea of, what if it comes to fruition? In Yukinoshita Yukino's view, her communication with Qin Chuan was just a part of completing the service department's commission, but in the eyes of others, it was different. Hey, Qin Chuan, you kid. How did you hook up with Yukinoshita so quickly? After the football club's activities ended, Akaji's expression was as if he had seen a ghost. He rushed up regardless of the smell of sweat and wanted to question Qin Chuan. He could clearly see just now that Qin Chuan and Yukinoshita Yukino exchanged contact information. Yukinoshita Yukino, who is usually polite to everyone and extremely cold every time she talks, exchanged contact information with Qin Chuan, his male friend. Don't come near me if you smell like sweat. Qin Chuan pressed Chimu's forehead with his fingers in disgust and pushed him away easily, disapproving of this guy's sudden appearance. Yukishita is just completing the service department's commission, don't think too much. I didn't expect you to be the first to catch the sour smell of love before I even had the slightest clue. However, Qin Chuan's explanation seemed not to be listened to by Chimu at all. This guy had completely fallen into a daze, leaving Qin Chuan very helpless. Sure enough, just as he had thought before, these adolescent boys and girls would be exaggerated by them even if they had the slightest clue. He and Yukinoshita Yukino just exchanged contact information. Looking at Akaji like this, it was as if Qin Chuan had already stepped onto the ladder of adulthood. Okay, let me tell you about the girl Yukinoshita learned about first, and then I will find a way for you to have a relationship with her. Qin Chuan knew that continuing to explain would be useless, so he simply didn't bother to explain, changed the topic directly, and brought up the information about the girl Akaji was interested in. Sure enough, seduced by Tamaya Shion's information, Akaji immediately forgot about the fact that his friend has tied the knot with a well-known beautiful girl in school. Really? Tell me now, I can't wait. After the day at school, Qin Chuan returned home smoothly. After grabbing some food for dinner, Qin Chuan was ready to take a bath and then lie down on the bed. Yes, he was going to explore the Dragon Ball world for the second time. Last night, he got the teleportation skill and the control of Ki in his dream, but he was still far from the main mission. Because the main mission requires that Frieza with 100% power must be killed, this means that Qinchuan cannot use a sneak attack to kill Frieza when he has a combat power of 530,000 in the first stage. Therefore, for Qinchuan, any side tactics are useless. The only way to advance the main mission is to improve his strength and give himself the power to defeat Frieza head-on. After taking a shower and changing into pajamas, Qin Chuan sat on the bed like yesterday, but before getting ready to sleep, he took a look at his phone. When he looked at it, he saw a message from Yukinoshita Yukino on the screen. Why is this guy sending me a message so late at night? Qin Chuan opened the news about Yukinoshita Yukino with some curiosity. If another girl sent him a message late at night, Qin Chuan would probably be excited, but this was Yukinoshita Yukino's message, so he could guess what the content was with his toes. It's indeed a plan. This guy really wrote down all the detailed steps. Looking at the long list of plans on the screen, Qin Chuan burst out laughing. Should Yukinoshita Yukino be serious or stubborn? She would try her best to complete what she wanted to accomplish. Bringing two high school students together would probably be something that most people would just deal with casually, but Yukinoshita Yukino had made such a detailed plan. Maybe this is Yukinoshita Yukino, it fits her character very well. I understand, see you Saturday morning. After roughly reading the long list of plans written by Yukinoshita Yukino, Qin Chuan simply replied and put down his phone. Compared to Yukinoshita Yukino, the Dragon Ball world is more attractive to him now. Women and other things will only affect the speed of my turtle-style qigong. I don't know what Yukinoshita Yukino's expression on the other side of the phone would be like when she saw such a simple reply from Qin Chuan. She probably felt helpless as if she had finished her summer homework seriously, but was given a red by the teacher. After being immersed in the dream, Qin Chuan did not appear directly in the Dragon Ball world this time. Instead, he saw a special pop-up window in the darkness. Dear Kobolds, please choose the mission world you want to enter. 1. Dragon Ball. This is obviously a selection interface used to choose to enter the mission world, but there is only one Dragon Ball world on it, and Qin Chuan still doesn't know how to unlock the second world. Judging from what he has observed in the Dragon Ball world now, it is unlikely that he will be able to improve his soul and mental strength in the Dragon Ball world in a short time. However, the physical combat effectiveness of Dragon Ball world is really strong, which makes Chuan quite satisfied. However, Chuan actually loves and hates the Dragon Ball world. Love, because the overall level of the Dragon Ball world is very high, so after Chuan randomly obtained the identity of a Saiyan, he almost reached the sky in one step, possessing combat power that is too extravagant for the real world. Hate, because the combat power in the Dragon Ball world is too high, so the main mission is extremely rare. Chuan estimates that if he is unlucky, it will take a long time to complete the mission of defeating Frieza with 100% power. And more importantly, if the way to unlock the second world is to clear the main mission of the first world, Chuan will be really stuck. I can only hope that the way to unlock the second world is simpler. Chuan, who was a little confused about his future, sighed and chose to enter the Dragon Ball world. He had no other world to choose from now. The next moment, Chuan felt the darkness in front of him fade away instantly, and his figure appeared in the woods again. He knew this woods, it was the same woods he was in when he quit the game last time. The hole blasted out by the Qigong wave that destroyed Elik's body was still at his feet. After realizing that his position had not changed from the last time he exited the game, Chuan immediately suppressed his anger and reduced his combat power to a low point. Sure enough, the next moment, a beam of light shone from the distance. A large lighting equipment was lighting everywhere, and it happened to shine on Chuan. Stretching his head out, Chuan looked into the distance. There was originally a Cyrillic city, but now it has completely turned into ruins. Now a large group of Frieza Army's handymen are cleaning up. After all, Frieza's business is to sell these planets to aliens in need. Since they are commodities, the appearance of them is naturally very important, and these urban ruins naturally need to be cleaned up. Of course Chuan knew about this, so he suppressed his anger immediately. In this way, even if someone from Frieza's army accidentally detected this area with a combat power detector, they would only see two digits of combat effectiveness. With double-digit combat power, which is equivalent to that of large beasts on some planets, Frieza's army will naturally not care. The planet they are selling only eliminates human civilization, but does not eliminate the biosphere, a planet without even animals. I am afraid not many people are willing to buy it. However, besides Frieza's army, there was another group of people walking through the ruins of the city. These people were not uniformly dressed, and there was obviously no discipline. They did not obey the command of Frieza's army, but the orders of a small blue-skinned woman with dreadlocks. Just from her hairstyle and skin color, it is not difficult to tell that this woman is of the same race as Elik. Chuan knows her. This guy's name is Maggie, and he and Elik belong to the same Sita clan. Elik, the leader of the Sita clan, disappeared on Cirel. This was of course a major event for the Sita clan, so Maggie asked someone to search for Elik's traces. Unlike Frieza, although the Sita clan has businesses all over the universe, they do not have their own armed forces. Their source of manpower is mercenaries from all over the universe. As long as they can afford the money, there are many people to work for them. Frieza is obviously not ready to break up with the Theta clan yet, so Frieza doesn't care about the fact that the Theta clan has hired a bunch of mercenaries to search Cirel. In this way, there are now two groups of people on Cirel, the large number of mercenaries invited by the Sita clan, and the miscellaneous personnel of Frieza's army mixed together, each doing their own thing, with almost no communication. Very good, just as I thought. Chuan looked at this situation with satisfaction. After killing Elik, this situation was already within his expectation. It is undoubtedly a good thing for Chuan that the two groups are mixed together, because it means that if someone suddenly drives away in a spaceship, the two groups will think that the person on the opposite side is acting without authorization. The people in Frieza's army looked down on those mercenaries, and those mercenaries also looked down upon Frieza's army. The two groups had no desire to communicate at all. In this case, it was best to fish in troubled waters. Keeping his combat power low, Chuan quickly found the landing point of Frieza's army's spherical spaceship nearby. The ground was full of pits made by the spherical spaceship, and no one was even watching. Perhaps in the eyes of Frieza's army, these spherical spaceships are not very valuable things. But this was convenient for Chuan. He directly picked a relatively new one among these spherical spaceships, then opened the hatch and got in, pinched the positioning system and pulled it off. This positioning system is used by Frieza's army headquarters to determine the location of the spacecraft. Before departure yesterday, Chuan asked the logistics staff responsible for maintaining the spacecraft and he told him everything. After all, in Frieza's army, the status of combat personnel is much higher than that of support personnel. Although Saiyans have always been nicknamed monkeys in Frieza's army, it is undeniable that the support staff did not dare to resist Chuan's questions. Before setting off yesterday, Chuan had already made preparations to leave Frieza's army, so he naturally investigated these details early. Throwing the positioning device outside the spacecraft, Chuan closed the hatch of the spacecraft and began to set the destination. The computer of the spherical spacecraft stores the coordinates of many important planets collected by Frieza's army. As long as the planets are set, the spherical spacecraft will automatically go to the destination. Among these coordinates, Chuan spent a little time and found the destination coordinates he needed. Zuno star. This planet, just like its name, is where a person named Zuno lives. This Zunuo is a well-known intelligence master in the entire universe. He knows almost everything. He can even provide the location of the Super Dragon Ball. He can be called a fully upgraded version of the fortune teller. This guy is Chuan's next target. Because Zuno is a well-known intelligence provider in the universe, Chuan guessed that the planet coordinates collected by Frieza's army should include the planet Zuno, and now it seems that it is indeed the case. Of course, if the coordinates collected by Frieza's army are not included, Chuan also has a backup plan, which is to obtain the location of Zuno from the Theta clan. As a businessman who can also sell information, the Theta clan must have a way to get it. Zuno's location. But it seems that it is not needed now. As for the price of letting Zunuo provide information, according to the original work, it is that Zunuo must provide a kiss, and then Zunuo will determine how many questions the other party can ask based on his feelings about the person who provided the kiss. This setting is undoubtedly the bad taste of the author Akira Toriyama, but turning it into reality is not just a simple bad taste. Of course, Chuan couldn't kiss that Zunuo. He had already thought about it. If the other party didn't answer the question, he would directly use violence to force him to ask. Zunuo himself has little fighting power. With his rules, if the questioner is a person who abides by the rules, then there is no problem. But if the opponent does not abide by the rules and is powerful, Zunuo can't do anything. In the original work, the King of Universe 10, Zamasu, once violently demanded information about Zuno's Super Dragon Balls. He, Zamasu, could do it, but why couldn't I, Chuan? After setting the target location as Zuno, the spherical spacecraft started immediately, slowly rose into the air, then gradually accelerated, and flew directly away from Cirel. As Chuan expected, no one cared that a spaceship flew away. Even if a few people saw it, they just thought it was someone from the other side who acted without authorization. The mercenaries of the Theta clan would think that Frieza's army had something going on, so they let one person leave, while Frieza's army thought that it was probably a mercenary of the Theta clan who wanted to act alone, so they used their spaceship. After all, the Theta clan's spaceship is a large spaceship that carries many people every time. If you want to act alone, you can only borrow the Frieza army's one-person spherical spacecraft. Anyway, spherical spaceships are not a very valuable thing in Frieza's army. Many people destroy a few when they go on missions, especially Saiyans. After turning into giant apes, there are countless spaceships trampled to pieces. So the people in Frieza's army don't care if someone drives the spaceship away. Anyway, with the positioning system, Frieza's army will naturally know where the spacecraft has gone and can recover it at any time. Of course they didn't know that Chuan had dismantled the positioning parts before starting the spacecraft. No one caught up, that's good. After the spacecraft started, Chuan kept looking at the situation outside through the window of the spherical spacecraft, until he flew into the universe. No one caught up with him, which showed that he had indeed succeeded in fishing in troubled waters. It's just that the time it takes to reach Zunuo is a bit exaggerated. Although it was a good thing that no one noticed that Chuan had stolen the spherical spaceship, he felt a little headache when he saw the flight time displayed on the small screen. 21,514 tuckers are needed, was clearly displayed on the screen. Tucker is a universal unit of time in the universe. According to Earth's time conversion, 100 tucker is about 48 minutes. Chuan still remembers this. In other words, it will take a full 7 days to fly from here to Zuno. This left Chuan a little helpless. After all, it was a journey across planets. Frieza's spherical spaceship was actually very fast, but even so, the flight time of several days was unavoidable. For a small planet like Earth, which is on the edge of the universe, it would even take a year to fly there. Zuno is at least in a prosperous area of the universe, so it doesn't take that long. It seemed that Cirel was too close and it only took a few hours to fly there, giving Chuan the illusion that it didn't take long to fly to other planets. Fortunately, every time I exit the game and re-enter the world, I always appear at the relative position. Chuan was also a little lucky at this time. Every time he entered the world, the relative position appeared, not the absolute position. In this way, he at least does not have to worry about exiting the game in the spherical spacecraft and appearing directly in the universe when he re-enters tomorrow. But if this happens, won't I have to be trapped in this spherical spaceship for the next 7 days? There will be no entertainment facilities in this broken space. Although there is no need to worry about appearing in a vacuum after going online, it is also true that Chuan is sitting in the spaceship and has nothing to do. It is not difficult to see from the conversation between Vegeta and Nappa in the original work that the only thing that can be done in this spherical spaceship is to directly use the hibernation device, which at least allows people to spend the long flight time unknowingly. But it is definitely impossible for Chuan to sleep. He doesn't really have to sit in the spaceship for 7 days. After these 8 hours, he can return to the real world. The space inside the spherical spaceship was very small. Chuan sat huddled inside and couldn't even stretch his hands and feet. It would be really uncomfortable for him to sit in this situation for 8 hours. At this time, the beauty of the second world can be seen. Chuan sighed. If he had the choice of the second world at this time, then he could choose to go to the second world to exercise for 7 days and let the spacecraft fly alone in the universe. When you are almost at your destination, enter the Dragon Ball world and appear inside the spaceship, so that you won't waste 7 days. But now that the spaceship has started, he has no choice but to accept his fate. If that's the case, then I'll just quit the game. He has no interest in sitting in such a small place for 8 hours and then quitting. Now there is always an option to quit game on his panel, and he can quit directly. Wait 7 days before entering the Dragon Ball world, and you should have flown to Zuno planet by then. But just when Chuan was about to exit the game, a new line of information suddenly flashed on the screen of the spaceship. Chuan was stunned for a moment, and then looked at the content displayed on the screen. The content was very simple. It was that a planet where Frieza's army's spacecraft had landed was detected nearby and a distress message was being sent. And judging from the distress messages, those Frieza army's spaceships have been severely damaged. Are there other Frieza troops around here sending out distress signals? Chuan touched his chin, a little curious. There were not many opportunities for Frieza's army to ask for help. Could it be some special situation? Could it be Broly and his son? If the world Chuan lives in is the so-called official history world line, then Broly and his son also exist, and judging from the fact that Bardock's son was just born, Broly should have been born long ago. Because Broly showed terrifying growth potential shortly after his birth, he was exiled by King Vegeta to the uninhabitable planet Vampa on the grounds that he was too dangerous. Broly's father Paragus also closely followed. Have you never heard that Star Vampa is near Star Cirel? Why don't you go and have a look? However, the possibility that this distress signal was sent by Broly and his son is not very high. After all, Broly's father Paragus hated King Vegeta deeply because of this incident, and also attacked Frieza's army. I no longer trust him. In this case, sending a distress signal that would be noticed by Frieza's army is obviously seeking death. Since we don't know the specific situation, we might as well go take a look. Anyway, there is a long voyage of 7 days ahead, so why not find something to do for yourself before the long voyage? The planet where the distress signal is located is not far from Chuan, and it only takes an hour or two to fly there, which is within the acceptable range. After determining the target, Chuan set the spacecraft's navigation route and turned to the planet where the distress signal was located, preparing to see what happened on that planet. Even if he encounters danger, with teleportation around, escaping should not be a problem. This is why Chuan dares to check the situation. I can only say that curiosity is a good thing. The first time I sat on the spherical spacecraft for several hours, I didn't feel bored. The second time I sat for an hour or two, I almost vomited from boredom. After the spacecraft landed smoothly, Chuan walked out of the spacecraft cabin with a hopeless expression. He had been so bored that he fell asleep in the past hour or two. It can only be said that when Dr. Librev modified Sun Wukong's spaceship in the original work, he was right to add entertainment facilities to him. It is really painful to have no entertainment facilities during a long flight. Even a cultivating madman like Sun Wukong must at least have space to move his body. This spherical spaceship must be curled up inside, which is really a very anti-human design. However, after the spacecraft landed, Chuan also learned about the general situation of the planet. Unlike what he had guessed before, this planet was not Vampa, but a planet without a name, only a number. According to the information seen from the spacecraft, this planet seems to have a very large population of beasts, and the combat effectiveness of these beasts is not low. If non-combatants enter, they may actually be eaten by the beasts. Chuan took out the combat power detector and put it on, then glanced around and saw a lot of combat power values in the distance. Judging from the outlines displayed on the detector, they were indeed basically large beasts. The combat effectiveness of these beasts is indeed not low. The combat effectiveness of many beasts has exceeded 1,000. If placed on the Earth, they would be giant beasts enough to destroy human civilization. Although these beasts are indeed not weak in combat power, they shouldn't be able to force everyone in Frieza's army to send out a distress signal, right? Although the fighting capabilities of these beasts were outstanding, Chuan still didn't quite understand why the men of Frieza's army were sending distress signals here. Under normal circumstances, Frieza's army will be followed by combatants when they travel, and Frieza's army's combatants, although not killing these beasts, should not have a problem escaping. But soon, Chuan saw something else on the combat effectiveness detector. Several high combat effectiveness reactions appeared in the distance, and judging from their outlines, they were not beasts. A member of Frieza's army. Chuan pointed the combat effectiveness detector in that direction and turned on the combat effectiveness check, and then he saw the value on the detector's lens begin to soar crazily. Almost in the blink of an eye, the combat power value soared to more than 10,000, which scared Chuan and quickly turned off the combat power detector. It's not that he was frightened by the combat power value, but he knew very well that the upper limit of the combat power detector he was wearing was only about 20,000. Once it exceeded this range, the detector might explode. Now he only has this combat power detector on hand, and he can't let it blow up. More than 10,000 combat power. No, based on the speed at which the value surged just now, it is estimated that the final combat power value is an astronomical figure. I am afraid it is stronger than Frieza. Where did this monster come from? Chuan couldn't help but curse secretly. He didn't expect that there were monsters with such fighting power on this planet. But despite what he said, Chuan still lowered his breath and rushed towards the direction of the monster. Although there is a certain danger, he has come, and he can't just run away without taking a look at the person whose combat power comes from him. Then isn't his trip in vain? Even if there may be nothing gained in the end, at least he needs to know who is here. Because he was depressed, Chuan's speed was much slower, but he still arrived at his destination in about 10 minutes. Hiding behind a huge rock, Chuan carefully poked his head out and looked ahead. Not far away was a huge open space, with a strange-looking building standing in the open space. No, if you look closely, there are 4 pillars underneath the building, so this must be a spaceship. This spaceship is really big. Is the distress signal sent by Frieza's army related to this spaceship? Chuan observed the spaceship carefully, frowning and thinking, it seems that the exaggerated combat power aura just now should come from this spaceship. He searched his mind for memories of Dragon Ball that he had watched before, but he seemed not to remember that a spaceship of this shape appeared. There must be some clues. Chuan carefully observed the spacecraft again, and finally found a mark that he had an impression of engraved on a corner of the spacecraft. It was an M-shaped cursive character. Because it was engraved on the corner of the spacecraft, Chuan couldn't notice it immediately, but now that he saw it, Chuan reacted immediately. It's Magician Babiti's spaceship. Chuan immediately understood that in the original work, Babiti buried his spaceship underground, leaving only an entrance exposed, so Chuan had no impression of the shape of the spacecraft. In other words, is Babiti already planning to resurrect Majin Buu? He came here probably to collect the power of these beasts, right? In order to resurrect Majin Buu, Babiti has been collecting the power of powerful people from all planets in the universe, and injecting those powers into Majin Buu's egg can resurrect Majin Buu. From this point of view, those Frieza army's distress signals should be that someone from Frieza's army mistakenly entered the planet and was caught by Babiti's men, so the distress signal was sent. As for after sending out the distress signal, they were probably in danger. Babiti was not a kind person, and he didn't blink at all when he killed someone. And the source of that extremely exaggerated combat power should be Babiti's subordinate, Dapra, the king of the demon world, who is staying in the spaceship. Dapra's strength can be said to be at the fault level in this period, and he is a character who belongs to the next few chapters. Even if Frieza fights Dapra with 100% combat power, he will be easily killed instantly. Dapora, Majin Buu. Chuan frowned. Of course, he couldn't go head-to-head with Dapra now. There would be no benefit to him. In Dapora's eyes, his own strength was probably no different from that of an ant. In fact, Babiti also has a way to improve his strength. By letting Babiti activate the evil heart in his heart and enter the demonized state, his strength can also be improved to a certain extent. But the price is that after being demonized, he will be controlled by Babiti. Although Babiti's control is not very strong, the human warrior Yamu controlled by him in the original work temporarily broke away from Babiti's control and tried to escape because of the fear of his companions being killed. However, no matter how small the control is, it is still control. Chuan cannot be willing to be controlled by Babiti just for that little improvement in strength. Chapter 21. Although I can't get any benefits from Babiti, Dapora and Majin Buu, it's okay to add some trouble to Frieza. Away from Babiti's spaceship, Chuan found several other Frieza Army's spherical spacecraft nearby. As he expected, these spherical spaceships were penetrated from the outside. Apparently they met Babiti's men by chance as soon as they landed and were captured alive. What happened after that was probably that he hurriedly pressed the distress signal, and then he was caught by Babiti's men, drained of his power and then disposed of. This kind of hastily sent distress signal can only be received by the approaching spacecraft, but there is also a distress signal sent specifically to Frieza's army headquarters, which these spacecraft obviously did not send out. Then let me help you send it. Opening these spaceships, Chuan found those specific signal transmitting devices, and then activated them one by one, so that the Frieza army headquarters would receive the signal. Frieza's army will definitely send people to check the situation by then, and a conflict will eventually break out with Babiti's men. Although Babiti will definitely win in the end because Dapora is here, it is inevitable that something will be damaged during the battle. To a certain extent, it can also delay Babiti's progress in resurrecting Majin Buu. As for whether Frieza would come here in person, only to be killed by Dapora, Chuan wasn't too worried about this. Because Frieza had been warned when he inherited his father's legion that there were two people in this universe that he could not provoke, one was Majin Buu, and the other was Beerus, the god of destruction. As long as Frieza figures out that the opponent is Babiti who is resurrecting Majin Buu, he will definitely stop his losses. Although it is unlikely to pose too much of a threat to Frieza, it is great to be able to disgust Frieza, who let him get stuck in his main mission. After confirming that the distress signal was sent back to Frieza's army headquarters, Chuan left with satisfaction. If he continues to stay here, he may be discovered by Babiti's men. With Chuan's current strength, if a battle breaks out, he can only rely on teleportation to save his life. And if the spacecraft is destroyed in the battle, Chuan will be trapped on this planet, and he will not be able to physically rush into the universe. Although they clearly have the power to threaten the universe in the later stages, they are unable to survive in the universe and are even threatened by heart disease. These characteristics of the Saiyans, such as high attack power and low survivability, have been criticized by many people. He once again controlled the spherical spaceship to leave the planet. This time he was really heading to Zuno. Along the way, he was not going to stop unless he encountered a planet that appeared in the original work, such as Vampa. But as soon as the spacecraft flew out, the system's beep sounded in Chuan's mind. Dear player Kobold, you have completed the achievement, the first step of synchronization. The new mission world has been confirmed and recorded. Achievements. It's really a common element in games. Sitting in the spaceship, Chuan, who was about to quit the game, was stunned when he saw this, and then felt a burst of joy. Because the second tip said that the new mission world has been confirmed and recorded. In other words, the second world has been unlocked, and it seems that there is no need to complete the main mission of the first world as he had done in the worst-case scenario. And the name of this achievement is, the first step of synchronization, and if you want to talk about synchronization. Chuan quickly opened his panel, and sure enough, the content on it had undergone a slight change. Current world. Dragon Ball. Main mission. Destroy Frieza's 100% status. Synchronization of player Kobold strength, 1%. Players are requested to try their best to advance the main mission and unlock strength synchronization. The synchronization rate has changed from 0% to 1%. Although it is only such a small change, from the perspective of the system, this 1% is the real first step in synchronization. The previous 0.5% synchronization does not count in the eyes of the system. But why does the synchronization rate increase? Does what I just did seem to the system to be advancing the main mission? Although he was happy with the changes in the panel and the unlocking of the second world, Chuan was also confused as to why the synchronization rate changed. Judging from the description at the bottom of the panel, the only way to unlock the synchronization rate is to advance through the main mission. So, his actions just now were regarded as efforts to eliminate Frieza. Chuan felt that his action just now was just to add some trouble to Frieza's army, and it had nothing to do with destroying Frieza, right? In fact, if he just wanted to kill Frieza by any means necessary, Chuan would have thought about deceiving Frieza in front of Dappora and using Dappora's hand to kill Frieza. However, considering that the requirement of this system was that he should kill it himself, he suppressed this idea. Otherwise, if Frieza is really killed by Dappora and the main mission is not completed, will I still have this synchronization rate? Although I can't figure it out, it's a good thing if there is progress. After thinking about it for a while, he couldn't figure out how his actions just now contributed to the main mission, but since the system said so, he couldn't have to sing the opposite. Although this system obviously has no intelligence, if your doubts are fixed as bugs and the synchronization rate is returned, there will really be no place to cry. Moreover, unlocking the second world is also an urgent need for Chuan. Next, the 7 days in the Dragon Ball world will be spent in the spaceship. If there is a second mission world, then he can spend these 7 days in the second mission world. Maybe the power gained from the second mission world can in turn help him in his actions in the Dragon Ball world. In addition, the Earth in the Dragon Ball world is also a place he must go to, but if he uses a spherical spaceship to go to the Earth, it will take a year, which is obviously too long. He will definitely not consider it until he finds a spaceship or other method that can quickly travel to Earth. The worst thing is, he still has 2 Dragon Balls in his hand. Although they are now petrified, these 2 Dragon Balls will turn back into shape in a year. It's not impossible to use these 2 Dragon Balls to teleport himself to the Earth. Anyway, he has experienced how much these 2 Dragon Balls stretch his hips, and he doesn't expect this dragon to bring him much improvement. In comparison, the Earth Dragon should be more useful. After all, the Earth God said that the Great Elder of Namek said that the quality of the Dragon Balls created by the genius of Namek must be much better than these 2 Dragon Balls. In that case, let's exit the game first and see what's going on in the second world. Although the strength was not improved on Babiti's planet, the synchronization rate was improved, which was considered a worthwhile trip. Next, he will have to see what the second world is. If nothing else happens, all the sleeping time in the next 7 days will be spent in the second world. Different from the situation when he quit the game before, Chuan did not wake up directly in bed this time, but fell into darkness. In the darkness, the option of choosing the world appeared in front of Chuan again. Dear Kobolds, please choose the mission world you want to enter. 1. Dragon Ball. 2. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. The second world is actually this. Chuan was a little surprised. He originally thought that the second world would be similar to Dragon Ball in style and might have high martial arts value, but he didn't expect it to be JoJo. How should I put it? The world of this work is very different from Dragon Ball. Even in the early stages of the plot of Dragon Ball, the moon is already blown up at every turn, and in the middle stage, it is even threatened by blowing up the earth, which sounds scary. As for the plot of JoJo, excluding the special case of Boss Pucci in the 6th part who reshaped the universe, it is basically just an urban superpower work. The limit is to demolish buildings and smash streets. To be fair, Chuan's 4,000 combat power in the Dragon Ball world is not needed, just the 20 combat power he got simultaneously in reality. Oh no, it should be 40 combat power now, and it can achieve similar effects. However, this world also has something that the Dragon Ball world cannot do for the time being, which is the improvement of the spirit and soul. That's right, the work, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, has the power called Stand-In, which is the embodiment of spiritual power and a symbol of the soul. In the world of Dragon Ball, it is difficult for Chuan to improve his spirit and soul in a short period of time, but in the world of JoJo, it is easy to do it. One of the ways to awaken the avatar is to be stabbed by a special arrow in the work, and then you can awaken directly without any complicated steps or costs. It's just that if the substitute is not awakened, he may die. But Chuan is not too worried about this, because even if he really dies, the worst he can do is lose a mission world, and Chuan can't afford the loss. After all, the biggest role of this world is to provide him with opportunities for spiritual and soul evolution. In terms of the upper limit of force value alone, the Dragon Ball world is simpler and more crude. Then let's enter the new mission world and try it. There is no point in just thinking so much here. It is better to go in first to see the situation. Chuan directly chooses to enter the second mission world. However, the system then popped up a prompt that left Chuan speechless. Dear Kobold, your remaining play times today are 0, please try again tomorrow. In other words, I can only enter one mission world every day. Chuan scratched his head. The meaning of this reminder was obvious. He had used up the remaining times in the Dragon Ball world today, so he could not enter the second mission world. However, since there is a setting for the remaining number of games, it means that this number can still be added, but Chuan doesn't know how to add it yet. This broken system is said to be a game, but many settings have to be explored step by step. There is not even a tutorial, which really makes Chuan want to complain. If you put this design into reality and let netizens see it, the producer's horse will be gone long ago. However, although he failed to enter the second mission world, the main mission of the mission popped up smoothly, allowing Chuan to know the situation of this world in advance. Current world. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Main mission. Destroy Dio. Synchronization of player Kobold strength. 0%. Players are requested to try their best to advance the main mission and unlock strength synchronization. Dio, the boss of the first and third parts of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, is also an important character throughout the first to sixth parts. Among the fans of this work, some people jokingly said that this work should be Dio's wonderful interpersonal relationship. But Chuan doesn't care about this. What he cares more about is this Dior the Dior of the first film or the Dior of the third film? There is a big gap between the first and third parts of this work. The stand-in that Chuan wants to get is only available from the third part. The protagonist's ability in the first and second parts is the ripple breathing method, a fighting method that uses a special breathing frequency to generate ripples like solar energy to increase strength. After all, Chuan, who already has a combat power of 40 in reality, really doesn't like the ripple breathing method very much. Although the ripple breathing method has the effect of slowing down aging, Chuan is not in urgent need of this effect now. As for the effect of killing vampires, he doesn't even need it. He can't meet vampires in reality. As for whether he could kill the evil spirits Yatsugami saw, he didn't have much hope. After all, the essence of Ripple's killing of vampires was to simulate the energy of the sun. Those evil spirits wandered under the sun all day long, but he didn't see them die. It's better to use a substitute to destroy the evil spirits. Destroy Dio. I hope it's Dio in the third part, otherwise the timeline of the first part is really useless to me. At this time, Chuan could only hope that after entering the mission world, he would be in the timeline of the third part, so that he could obtain the substitute ability more easily. Of course, in addition to this, there is an even worse possibility, which is that after entering the mission world, you find that it is actually the timeline of the second part. Because in the timeline of the second part, Dio was not actually dead, but was locked in a coffin and sunk into the sea and fell asleep until he was fished out decades later. In that case, Chuan would have no way to kill him. He couldn't let Chuan go to the sea and gamble his luck to fish out Dio's coffin. I can only make plans after entering the JoJo world tomorrow. Chuan felt that he should not be so unlucky. After struggling for a while, he chose to turn off the system. By the way, Chuan still regrets choosing the name Kobold when he was naming it yesterday. This directly caused the system to call itself a kobold every time it prompted it. After hearing it too many times, it always felt like being scolded. There was nothing he could do about it. Who told the system to call itself an Infinite Horror VR game at that time? When he heard about Infinite Horror, what naturally came to his mind was Team Battle PvP. So at that time, I thought I could hide my identity as much as possible, so I came up with a strange name. Little did I know that I was the only player in this world, so I picked up such a pseudonym for nothing. In short, after he gets a substitute from the JoJo world and improves his mental power and soul, he will probably be able to deal with the evil spirits around him. Even though I can't see the evil spirit now, I still feel a bit awkward after knowing that there is indeed an evil spirit. The next morning, when Chuan came to the classroom, he found that Kato Megumi had already arrived. There were not many people in the classroom. Chuan came quite early, but most of the students who came early were already gathering in twos and threes to chat. Only Kato Megumi was sitting in his seat to preview his homework. On the one hand, it shows that Megumi Kato is a good child who loves to learn, but on the other hand, it can also be seen that Megumi Kato has a low sense of presence, so that she really has no one to talk to. However, Kato Megumi seems to have been used to this situation for a long time, so he doesn't seem to find anything strange in previewing alone. Kato, morning. Chuan sat down in his seat and said hello to Megumi Kato. Since there is no one else to chat with Megumi Kato, he should take up this position. In any case, Kato Megumi is also a beautiful girl, and chatting with her will not make Chuan feel uncomfortable. Chuan, good morning. Kato K's body trembled slightly, as if she was frightened by Chuan's greeting. She paused for a moment before turning back, with a slightly surprised expression on her face. Although Megumi Kato has always behaved very calmly, she is still a long way from facial paralysis, and her emotions can still be clearly seen. Of course, Chuan felt that her expression was always so calm because of her low sense of presence. Because no one was talking to her, there was no need to make too complicated expressions. He suspected that if Kato Megumi stayed like this and had no one to talk to, he would really be paralyzed in a few years. Why do you look scared? Am I that scary? Chuan smiled and took out the textbook from his school bag, put it on the table, and said to Megumi Kato. No, I just didn't expect Chuan to notice me today. I thought yesterday was just an exception. Kato Megumi shook his head and looked at Chuan's eyes flashing with curiosity, obviously surprised that Chuan could always notice her. After chatting with Chuan for a while yesterday, Kato Megumi was actually quite satisfied, but now it seems that Chuan will be able to chat with him more often in the future. Didn't you say that? I want to talk to you more in the future. Of course Chuan still remembers what Kato Megumi said yesterday. Now that he has the ability to sense chi, Kato Megumi's low presence will naturally not affect him. Those were just kind words. Megumi Kato's expression has also become much clearer. Although she still has the same calm expression at first glance, if you look closely, you can see that the corners of her mouth are slightly raised. It's quite cute. Although Kato Megumi is not the kind of stunning girl, she has a unique flavor. Speaking of which, if Chuan-san talks to me often, Yukinoshita-san might get jealous. Yukishita. When Kato Megumi suddenly mentioned Yukinoshita Yukino, Chuan was also slightly startled. Why did you mention her suddenly? Isn't Chuan-san dating Yukinoshita-san? Kato Megumi looked at Chuan curiously, with curiosity shining in his eyes. Where did you hear about this kind of thing? Chuan's lips twitched. He just met Yukinoshita Yukino for the first time yesterday. How come Kato Megumi already knew that they were in contact? Could it be that the rumors about him and Yukinoshita Yukino spread so quickly? Impossible. He and Yukinoshita Yukino only met after school yesterday, and the news had already reached Kato Megumi's ears this morning. There's no way those football club members had nothing to do last night and were there all night spreading rumors, right? I saw you and Yukinoshita-san by the court after school yesterday. They seemed very close. However, Kato Megumi did not hear any rumors from others, she saw it with her own eyes. Quote. Do you think I misunderstood something? I see, Yukinoshita and I are just helping my friend chase girls. After hearing Kato Megumi's words, Chuan also understood why she knew that she was in contact with Yukinoshita Yukino. You should also know that person, it's Akagi, the one who asked me to accompany him to the service department yesterday. With that said, Chuan told Kato Megumi that he was dragged to the service department by Akagi yesterday, and was dragged by Yukinoshita Yukino to make suggestions to bring together Akagi and Tamaya Shion. Service club, I see. I didn't expect that Yukinoshita-san to have such a side. After listening to Chuan's explanation, Kato Megumi understood what happened yesterday, and also gained a new understanding of Yukinoshita Yukino. As a student who considers herself to be an ordinary student, Kato Megumi had heard about Yukinoshita Yukino, a beautiful girl who was a top student, but she really didn't know that Yukinoshita Yukino had such a helpful side. It's just the way she helps others. Although Kato Megumi has never been in love, like Chuan, she subconsciously feels that her plan is a bit unreliable. So, does Kato have any suggestions? You can tell me and I will pass it on to Yukinoshita. Seeing Kato Megumi's expression of embarrassment after hearing Yukinoshita Yukino's plan, Chuan knew that she must also feel that Yukinoshita Yukino's plan was not reliable. Forcibly leaving two shy people alone together, just to let them develop feelings for themselves, this kind of thing can only go so well in comics. But I think that people who have never been in love wouldn't be able to offer any constructive suggestions when faced with this situation, right? Hearing Chuan's request, Kato Megumi first thought about it seriously, and then found that she couldn't think of anything, so she could only express her helplessness. After all, Chuan, Yukinoshita Yukino, and Kato Megumi are all people who have never been in love. In this regard, they have no ability to give advice to Akagi and Tamaya Shion. Of course, Chuan and Kato Megumi are self-aware, but Yukinoshita Yukino is obsessed with self-confidence and feels that the plan she made is completely fine. But Chuan's willingness to help his friends is already remarkable. Kato Megumi looked at Chuan with a smile and praised him. After all, Chuan is not a member of the service department. He participated in this matter purely because Akagi is his friend. In Megumi Kato's view, Chuan is certainly worthy of praise. I'm just helping out by the way. And that guy Akagi might be more honest if he has a girlfriend on his leash. Chuan shook his head, feeling that this was nothing. After all, that guy Akagi did a lot of stupid things in order to meet the famous beautiful girls in the school. If he can really date Tamaya Shion, then Tamaya Shion can at least control him and stop him from messing around. What about Chuan? Have you ever thought about having a girlfriend? The topic turned to having a girlfriend. Kato Megumi blinked, looked at Chuan curiously and asked. Chuan was also startled by Kato Megumi's sudden question. It's not that he was so narcissistic that he thought Kato Megumi would fall in love with him after chatting with him a few times in the past 2 days, but he really hadn't thought about this issue before. He had been waiting for his system to load, such as girlfriends, so even if some girls confessed their feelings, he declined them for the time being. But now that the system has been loaded, he also knows the true face of the system, and can even use the power of the system to become stronger and live a better life. In this case, having a girlfriend doesn't seem to be a problem. But before Chuan could answer Kato Megumi's question, Akagi's loud voice came over, directly interrupting the conversation between Chuan and Kato Megumi. Chuan, do you want to accompany me to the service department again today? Akagi's shout suddenly ruined the rhythm of the conversation between the two, and Chuan couldn't help showing a look of disgust on his face. This guy, it would be better to find a girl to tie him up. PFF'd. Chuan's expression made Kato Megumi couldn't help laughing. She blinked at Chuan, then turned around, leaving room for conversation between Akagi and Chuan. I have to say that Megumi Kato is indeed a good child. Not only is he quiet, he also knows how to advance and retreat and will not occupy other people's space. Although his thoughts were interrupted just now, Chuan felt that if he wanted to have a girlfriend, Kato Megumi might indeed be a good choice. However, Kato Megumi seemed to be ready to leave the space for conversation to Akagi, so Chuan had no choice but to turn his head and look at Akagi, his tone full of disgust. Why are you going to the service department? Didn't you go there yesterday? Of course he disliked it. Talking to a rough guy like Akagi was not as comfortable as talking to a sweet-smelling girl like Kato Megumi. However, Akagi obviously didn't realize that he had disturbed Chuan. After all, Kato Megumi's low presence worked as usual, and Akagi didn't even notice that Chuan was talking to others. Of course I want Yukinoshita to help me make suggestions. Chimu looked at Chuan with a very puzzled look, as if Chuan said something very unreasonable. Didn't you say that Yukinoshita would help me make a plan so that I and Shion can get along well? After listening to Akagi's words, Chuan also fell silent. Unexpectedly, Yukinoshita Yukino was very confident in his plan, and Akagi was also very confident in Yukinoshita Yukino. But then I thought about it. Akagi looked at the famous beautiful girls in the school as if they were idols, so it was not surprising that he had a fascination with them. I don't know if this guy would be disillusioned if he knew that Yinglili was a book artist. I haven't even written the horoscope yet, and it's called Zion. Chuan was also a little helpless against Akagi's impatient look. This guy and Tamaya Shion didn't even say a word, they both called her by name. That's all you need to do in front of me. When you meet Tamaya, don't call her by your first name. People will think you are very rude. In Neon, people with ordinary relationships are generally called by their full name or surname, and only very close people are allowed to call them by their first names. Elementary school students may still call each other names because they can't understand the distance, but Akagi and Tamaya Shion are high school students. If they call each other by their first names when they don't know each other, they will definitely be disliked. Although Yukinoshita Yukino's plan may not be reliable, if Akagi commits suicide and brings his favorability to a negative number first, it will be difficult to save him even if it is reliable. Don't worry, I know what's going on. Chimu patted his chest, looking very proud, but then he rubbed his hands and looked at Chuan cautiously. So after school today, can you accompany me to the Ministry of Service? Although it was okay to go alone, after seeing the scene where Chuan and Yukinoshita Yukino had a happy conversation yesterday, Akagi felt that it would be better for Chuan to accompany him. At least Chuan and Yukinoshita Yukino talked very naturally. Akagi felt that if he talked to Yukinoshita Yukino, he would definitely be too nervous. That's not necessary. If you have a plan, Yukinoshita has already sent it to me. Waving his hand, he felt that there was no need to go to the service department again. After all, Yukinoshita Yukino also had her own things to do in the service department and couldn't disturb her every day. He and Akagi were not members of the service department, so it was nothing to go to the service department all day long. But as soon as he finished speaking, he found that Akagi suddenly became quiet. If he looked carefully, he found that Akagi was staring at him with a very startling gaze. Before Chuan could speak, Chimu lowered his voice and asked in shock. Did you exchange contact information with Yukinoshita? Chuan was stunned for a moment, then reacted. When they were disbanded yesterday, he told Akagi that Yukinoshita Yukino would make a plan and tell him when the plan was finalized. Then as soon as he went to school this morning, he told Akagi that Yukinoshita Yukino had sent the plan. So the conclusion is obvious, either Yukinoshita Yukino visited Chinquanman last night, or the two of them exchanged contact information. Otherwise, how could Yukinoshita Yukino send the plan to Chinchuan? You guys are usually quite out of tune, but this time you think very quickly. Chuan said angrily. Yeah, it's just an exchange of contact information. I suggest you don't think too much. I understand, I won't talk nonsense. Akagi nodded, with an expression like, I know everything, but I will cooperate with you. It was obvious that this guy now wanted to fall in love with Tamaya Shion, so much so that when he saw Chuan and Yukinoshita Yukino, he felt that there were signs of that. But since he promised not to talk nonsense, Chuan still believes in this guy. Although Akagi is an athletic boy and a bit simple-minded, he is still a pretty good person. Otherwise, his popularity in the class would not be so good. Since Yukinoshita has sent you the plan, there is indeed no need to go to the service department today. Although Akagi usually wanted to meet the famous beautiful girls in the school, but now, probably because he had a girl to pursue, he calmed down and did not insist on seeing Yukinoshita Yukino again. Moreover, what Chuan said made sense. Yukinoshita Yukino established the service department not just to help him chase girls. He could not be allowed to take up all of Yukinoshita Yukino's entrustment. Then, let's talk again during lunch, and remember to tell me your plan then. During the conversation, Akagi saw that the teacher had entered the classroom with a lesson plan, which meant that class was about to begin. At this time, Chimu naturally couldn't stay with Chuan anymore, so he waved to him and ran towards his seat. On the podium, Shizuka Hiratsuka was teaching a Chinese class, and most of the students below the podium were listening carefully. On the one hand, it is because the exam is coming soon, and even some students who are cramming are now making the final sprint. On the other hand, Shizuka Hiratsuka is a good teacher who cares about her students, coupled with her iron-fisted rule, which makes many students respect and fear her and dare not get distracted easily. As an ordinary student, Chuan was of course listening carefully as always. But in the middle of class, Kato Megumi, who was sitting in front of Chuan, suddenly turned around, put a small note on Chuan's desk, and then turned back naturally. Chuan didn't react for a while. Is Kato Megumi passing a note in class? This kind of behavior of passing small notes is quite common among students, but Kato Megumi, her actions were too obvious. He turned around and put the note down. As long as the teacher is not blind, he can see this action clearly, right? Chuan subconsciously raised his head and glanced at Hiratsuka Shizu on the podium, and Hiratsuka Shizu seemed to feel Chuan's movements and glanced at Chuan. From Shizuka Hiratsuka's gaze at that moment, Chuan could sense what Shizuka Hiratsuka meant: don't be distracted and listen to the class carefully. Well, Kato Megumi has the characteristic of low presence. Even Hiratsuka Shizuka, who cares about students, was not immune to this effect. He did not notice that Kato Megumi turned around and handed a note to Chuan at all. But since Hiratsuka Shizu didn't pay attention, Chuan couldn't complain. Relying on his ability to sense chi, he quietly opened the note in his hand while sensing Hiratsuka Shizu's movements. With his current perception ability, every move Shizuka Hiratsuka makes will cause her chi to change. It can be said that Chuan can perfectly avoid Shizuka Hiratsuka's sight. Kato Megumi didn't write anything complicated on the note, he just wrote a contact information on it. Obviously, Kato Megumi heard the conversation between Chuan and Akagi before class and knew that Chuan and Yukinoshita Yukino had exchanged contact information. Then for some unknown reason, she also wanted to add a contact person with Chuan. After all, Chuan is the only person who can always pay attention to her. It is normal for her to want to communicate with Chuan more. Chuan didn't pay much attention, took out his mobile phone and added Kato Megumi's contact information under the desk. But what Chuan didn't expect was that Kato Megumi actually approved the request immediately and sent Chuan a smiling emoticon backhand. Chuan raised his head and glanced at the back of Kato Megumi in front of him. Kato Megumi sat upright. If Chuan hadn't seen the message she sent, he might not have thought that she was secretly playing with her mobile phone. Megumi Kato, you're a bad student and you actually play with your phone in class. Chuan found it a bit funny, so he avoided Hiratsuka Shizuka's sight and sent a message back to Kato Megumi on his mobile phone. Listen carefully to the lecture. Obviously classmate Chuan is also secretly playing with his mobile phone. My academic performance is better than yours. Yes, although Chuan adheres to the principle of living a normal life and tries his best to keep his performance to a relatively ordinary level, his grades are also in the middle and upper reaches of the whole grade. Compared with Kato Megumi, whose performance has always been in the middle, it is indeed a little better, although not much better. You actually use your grades to bully people. I don't know if it was because of the chat software, but Chuan actually felt a coquettish feeling from these words. But think about it, Kato Megumi usually speaks in a very flat tone, making it difficult for people to feel her emotional ups and downs. If the same content were spoken by Megumi Kato, there might not be that coquettish feeling. Of course, it might just be Chuan's illusion. He doesn't want to become the victim of the three major illusions in life. Chuan, you can just call me Wei. Immediately afterwards, Kato Megumi sent another message, and this message was a bit intriguing. Of course Chuan knew why Kato Megumi said that. Of course it was because he heard Akagi call Tamaya Shion by name. But she actually asked Chuan to call her by her name. Could it be that Kato Megumi already thinks that he can be considered a good friend of hers? Then you should also remove the word, classmate. Of course Chuan wouldn't mind becoming better friends with Kato Megumi, but Kato Megumi kept calling him Chuan-san, and this title was a bit unfamiliar. Then, Chuan, Megumi, you should also pay more attention to your distance. Chuan was also a little helpless. Ever since Kato Megumi discovered that he could communicate with her normally, there seemed to be no sense of distance all of a sudden. Although it does not feel bad to be close to a beautiful girl, Chuan is also a little worried that Kato Megumi has no sense of distance, and it will be bad if he is deceived by a bad guy one day. Don't worry, no one else will notice me except Chuan. Kato Megumi's response was a bit confusing and sad. Although Kato Megumi should have been used to being ignored for a long time, this text still seems a bit pitiful. Chuan is not a person who cares much about other people's opinions, but when he thinks of Kato Megumi's usual situation, he can't help but feel a little bit intrusive. Okay, I understand, I will chat with you more in the future. Chuan felt that Kato Megumi was a little lonely, so he was so enthusiastic about someone who could notice her. However, Chuan felt that it was not a loss. He could have a close relationship with a beautiful girl. How many people wanted to do it but couldn't do it? That would be perfect. #laughing face. I don't know if it's an illusion, but Chuan feels that in the chat software, Kato Megumi's performance is more lively than in real life. In this way, the two secretly established a chatting relationship without anyone noticing. After that, Kato Megumi and Chuan chatted online for a while, including daily life, family situation and so on. It can be regarded as a little understanding of each other. The class time passed quickly, and until the end of the get out of class, Hiratsuka Shizuka didn't notice that Kato Megumi and Chuan played with their mobile phones for the entire class under her nose. Chuan relied on his ability to sense chi, and was able to put away his phone every time Hiratsuka Shizuka looked over, pretending to be paying attention to the lecture. Megumi Kato was more direct, her head buried all the time, and her eyes almost always stayed on the mobile phone under the desk, but Shizuka Hiratsuka just couldn't notice her. From this point of view, Kato Megumi's low sense of presence has reached a certain level of superpower. I see, you were with me on Saturday, then Yukinoshita and Shion were together, and finally you and Yukinoshita left, leaving Shion and I alone. During lunchtime, Akagi ate a bento, listening to Chuan inform him of Yukino's plan, and kept nodding. After listening to Yukino's plan, Akagi had no objection at all and directly agreed to the plan. It could be seen that he seemed to be quite satisfied with the plan. However, while agreeing to this plan, Akagi also looked at Chuan with a slightly thoughtful look, and his tone became a little bit harsh. But you and Yukinoshita left, and you said you had nothing to do with each other. We left to create opportunities for you and Tamaya, but you are still trying to squeeze us both here. Chuan looked at Akagi speechlessly. This guy couldn't grasp the point at all. Can he really muster the courage to take down Tamaya by then? He originally felt that Yukino's plan was a bit unworkable, but now seeing Akagi's behavior, he felt even more unsure. Anyway, remember it. Judging from what Yukinoshita heard, Tamaya does not favor anyone in the football club. You have to seize the opportunity. I understand that when you create opportunities for me, I will try my best to seize them. Akagi also knew that this was an opportunity created for him by Chuan and Yukino, so he nodded seriously. Although he had never spoken to Tamaya Shion before, if he didn't work hard after creating the opportunity this time, he might not have that opportunity in the future. After all, Yukinoshita Yukino also accepted Tamaya Shion's commission. I am afraid that next week Tamaya Shion will muster up the courage to submit an application to the football department to become the manager of the football department. When the time comes to face the group of boys in the football club, Akagi will not have any outstanding advantages, so he must establish a solid relationship with Tamaya before then. As long as you understand, don't waste the hard work that Yukinoshita and I have put in. It was rare for Akagi to become serious, and Chuan nodded with satisfaction. Let's not talk about whether Yukinoshita Yukino's plan is reliable or not, but at least the opportunities created for Akagi are real. But it's Saturday, which is the day after tomorrow. It seems that I have to ask my cousin for help tomorrow and ask him to match me with a more handsome outfit. After taking a bite of the chicken drumstick in his lunchbox, Akagi took out his phone and took a look. Today is Thursday, which means that the day after tomorrow is the day when they will gather together. Akagi is a typical sports boy, and these sports boys are not all handsome boys who are good at dressing up like in the comics. Akagi's aesthetics can be said to be disaster level. So it is a normal choice for him to ask for help from his family, but the cousin you are talking about, could it be Takanori Akagi? Chuan chewed the bread bought from the canteen and looked at Akagi speechlessly. My opinion is that you should ask your cousin. I'm afraid your cousin's advice will not be any better than your own matching. Akagi's cousin, Takanori Akagi, was the ace of the basketball club in other high schools. He had heard Akagi say this before. Although Chuan has never met Takanori Akagi, he has seen Takanori Akagi's story in the comics of his previous life, Let the Gorilla Teach Akagi How to Dress. Just thinking about it, Chuan felt that this date might be pornographic. However, Akagi Takanori's sister Akagi Haruko might be able to give Akagi some advice, at least to get Akagi to come without wearing big pants and a tank top. That's right, my cousin doesn't seem to be very good at dressing up either. When Chuan said this, Akagi nodded in agreement. After all, his cousin seemed to be bad at anything except playing basketball. When it comes to dressing up, it's better to ask girls for reference. But having said that, I'm going to find someone to help me with my outfit reference. You should also consider it, right? However, after his own affairs were arranged, Akagi helped Chuan think about it. After all, you and Yukinoshita will have to be alone by then. Yugashoshi and I just left together, leaving you and Tamaya some alone space. It doesn't mean that Yukinoshita and I will also act together next. Chuan looked at Akagi helplessly. He didn't know what was wrong with this guy, so he felt that he and Yukinoshita were having an affair. Although he and Yukinoshita exchanged contact information so quickly, the purpose was to bring Akagi and Tamaya Shion together, and there was no other reason. Yukinoshita Yukino is not the kind of person who falls in love at first sight. Chuan is very self-aware. He doesn't think that Yukinoshita Yukino will develop special feelings after just meeting him once. Although Akagi has been trying to push him, Chuan will not have any wrong impressions just because others say a few words. After I leave you on Saturday, I have other things to do, so I won't be acting together with Yukinoshita. What are you going to do on Saturday? Akagi looked at Chuan with some curiosity. It can be said that Akagi knew quite a bit about Chuan's actions on his days off. Normally, Chuan would stay at home on his days off and only do 3 things. Games, some special games. If it weren't for the fact that he usually had smooth conversations with other people in school, Akagi would really wonder if Chuan was a nerd. And Chuan, who usually just stays at home and plays games on his days off, actually said that he had other things to do when he went out on the weekend, which of course had to surprise Akagi. Prepare to find a place like a martial arts gym to practice some skills. Chuan didn't mean to hide it, or there was nothing to hide about this kind of thing. His fighting power has now improved, and his control of chi has become perfect, but even so, his fighting skills are still a mess. Although with the help of chi wandering, he can burst out a power stronger than the combat power value in a specific part, strengthening the parts as if he were at ease, but that is just a technique for exerting force. Even the simple and crude Saiyans have their own set of fighting skills. As a fighting race, they have gradually figured out a practical combat system through accumulated practical combat over time. Unfortunately, after Chuan entered the mission world, although he inherited the Saiyan identity and combat power, he did not inherit the Saiyan combat skills. The best place to learn skills in the Dragon Ball world is on the earth, whether it is Kamezan style or Tianjin's demon style Kung Fu, they are both good martial arts systems. It's a pity that he is in the Dragon Ball world and won't be able to go to Earth in a short time. So instead of drowning with the idea of, I won't use the martial arts I didn't learn in the Dragon Ball world, it is better to learn something in the real world first. Although the martial arts learned in the real world cannot teach you Qigong waves like the martial arts in the Dragon Ball world, it is at least much better than Qin Chuan's Wang Ba boxing set. Qin Chuan felt like dying when he thought that he had thrown a set of punches in front of Bardock and was then commented on whether there were still internal injuries in his body. Today ended without any incident. With Hiratsuka Shizuka's formulaic farewell words, the students in the classroom all dispersed. Akagi also said hello to other students and left in a hurry, probably to participate in the football club's training. Qin Chuan didn't do much else today. Apart from the normal class, he just chatted with Megumi Kato, face-to-face after class, and taking time to chat on his mobile phone during class. I have to say that after chatting for a day, the relationship between Qin Chuan and Kato Megumi has really become closer. Kato Megumi seemed to have not met someone she could chat with for a long time. She chatted with Qin Chuan about many things, as if she wanted to vent all her pent-up desire to chat. Probably because he understood Kato Megumi's situation, Qin Chuan also accepted all her chat requests and had a good chat with her. However, even though the content of the chat increased, Kato Megumi still maintained his plain expression when chatting face-to-face, and no emotion could be heard in his tone. After all, this is a habit that has been developed for a long time. Qin Chuan does not think that Kato Megumi can become emotionally rich in just one day, as long as it does not continue to develop in the direction of facial paralysis. But Qin Chuan is also a little worried. Kato K seems to only chat with him now. If he continues like this, will he only show emotions in front of him? A beautiful girl who seems to be paralyzed in front of others and only shows her emotions in front of herself. Hey, it sounds a bit emotional. After saying goodbye to Megumi Kato and other students, Qin Chuan picked up his school bag and left the classroom, preparing to go home. It was a special occasion to go to the service department yesterday. Under normal circumstances, he would return to the home department, that is, go home directly after school. But as soon as he reached the school gate, Qin Chuan felt his cell phone suddenly ringing. This was a reminder that someone had sent a message. Does Wei want to chat again so soon? Hearing the beep of his cell phone and feeling it vibrating in his pocket, Qin Chuan's first reaction was that Kato Megumi had contacted him again. It's no wonder that he thinks so. After all, he and Kato Megumi spent the whole day chatting at school, so now when his phone rings, he subconsciously thinks that Kato Megumi is contacting him. A person who has been ignored by others, after finally finding someone who will take him seriously, the speed of his emotional release is indeed beyond imagination. Qin Chuan stopped and stood at the school gate and took out his mobile phone. He was about to reply to Megumi Kato like he did in class today, but when he took a closer look, he found something was not right. Because it was not Megumi Kato who sent the message, but someone he had never expected before. Yukinoshita Yukino, why don't you come to the service department today? Qin Chuan was stunned. He didn't expect that the message was from Yukinoshita Yukino. Before he took out his phone, he really didn't expect to receive a message from Yukinoshita Yukino, mainly because Yukinoshita Yukino's usual behavior was quite cold, and it didn't look like he would take the initiative to contact boys. However, Qin Chuan also probably knew that Yukinoshita Yukino contacted him mainly because he wanted to complete the commission regarding Akagi and Tamaya Shion. Haven't the plan been finalized? Why do you still need me to go to the service department? Qin Chuan replied to Yukinoshita Yukino's message with some confusion. It would be okay if he didn't reply. After all, once a line message is opened and read, it will show, read, on the other party. If you don't reply to the message even though you have read it, it would be a bit rude. Qin Chuan is not a young lady using a smartphone for the first time, so naturally she will not do such a rude thing. But he didn't quite understand why Yukinoshita Yukino wanted him to go to the service department again. He was not a member of the service department, so he couldn't point at one person to grab a strong man, right? It will be more convenient to refine the details of the plan and discuss face to face. Yukinoshita Yukino also responded to the message immediately, and the reason given was quite sufficient. After all, Akagi is Chin Chuan's friend, so it is okay for Chin Chuan to work hard for his friends. Don't worry, there's no one else in the service department. Probably thinking that Chin Chuan might not like being disturbed by others, Yukinoshita Yukino added another sentence. It's just that this sentence seems a bit weird, like a girl saying to a boy, "There is no one else in my family." It has an inexplicable sense of ambiguity. Although Chin Chuan knew that Yukinoshita Yukino probably didn't mean that strange thing, he couldn't help but think that this sentence was really easy for people to think wrongly. But how did this guy know that I wasn't going to serve in the ministry? After pressing down the phone, Chin Chuan was a little confused about Yukinoshita Yukino's keenness. Logically speaking, school had just ended and Chin Chuan had just walked to the school gate. Yukinoshita Yukino actually guessed that he was not going to serve in such a short period of time. Department. Thinking of this, Chin Chuan turned to look at the school's teaching building. With his strong eyesight, he naturally quickly saw Yukinoshita Yukino's side face in a window, and Yukinoshita Yukino's gaze was looking at the school gate. As if she realized that she had been seen by Chin Chuan, Yukinoshita Yukino hurriedly closed the window again. Chin Chuan couldn't help but feel funny about her attempt to conceal herself. It turned out that he found himself at the school gate, so he quickly sent a message asking him to go to the service department. Yukinoshita Yukino, who usually behaves very coldly, also has a cute side. But since he was going home to play games anyway, Chin Chuan didn't think much about it, turned around and walked back to the school, planning to go to the service department to meet Yukinoshita Yukino to see how she planned to perfect her plan. Anyway, Yukinoshita Yukino is also a beautiful girl, and discussing things with Yukinoshita Yukino is not a torture. If Akagi sends a message asking her to go for a trip at this time, she might just get a "go away" from him. Arriving at the door of the service department, Chin Chuan knocked on the door, and then heard Yukinoshita Yukino's cold, "Come in" voice from inside. Opening the door and walking in, there was already Yukinoshita Yukino waiting inside. Although she was sitting upright and looked very serious, Chin Chuan could still see that her ears were a little red with embarrassment. Probably because of the embarrassment of being caught staring at Chin Chuan at the school gate. "Isn't there anyone from the service department who came to make a request today?" Chin Chuan found a chair and sat down, looking at Yukinoshita Yukino curiously. Yukinoshita Yukino would call him here. On the one hand, it not only showed that she was very serious about the commission she accepted, but on the other hand, it also proved that Yukinoshita Yukino was quite free now. If there were other commissions to be busy with, Yukinoshita Yukino probably wouldn't call Chin Chuan over. Not many people come to the service department usually. After all, not everyone is willing to tell strangers about their difficulties. Yukinoshita Yukino gently lifted her long hair and said calmly, "What's more, the head of the service department is just a weak woman. There are probably many people who don't believe that I can help solve the problem." This is true. Although Yukinoshita Yukino is also a relatively well-known beautiful girl in school, just being famous for her beauty does not solve any problems. If students have problems, asking for help from family members, teachers, or friends are all good options. Asking for help from the service department is probably the last choice. Of course, there are also some people who seek help from the service department with the intention of being able to talk to Yukinoshita Yukino. In fact, this is the case with Akagi. However, Akagi is a single-minded person, and others will still worry about their face to some extent. Isn't it embarrassing to ask a female classmate for help when they can't solve the problem themselves? Therefore, in fact, there have not been many people coming to the service department. It was very rare for 2 consecutive groups of people to come to make entrustments yesterday. So, wasn't there a girl who came to the service department yesterday? Her name was Yatsuya Miko, right? Chin Chuan thought of the black-haired girl Yatsuya Miko who had just walked out of the service department when he and Akagi entered the service department yesterday. It was precisely because of her existence that Chin Chuan realized that there might be evil spirits invisible to ordinary people in this world, and also gave him the idea of improving his spirit and soul. "Do you know her?" Yukinoshita Yukino looked at Chin Chuan in surprise, as if he didn't expect Chin Chuan to even know Yatsuya Miko's name. The request from Yotsuya-san, how should I put it, is rather strange. She asked me if I knew about the existence of evil spirits. Sure enough, Yotsuya Miko came to the service department to see if anyone could help get rid of the evil spirits she could see. For Yotsuya Miko, she must have tried various methods, but none of them could solve the problem of her eyes that can see evil spirits. Under desperation, she had no choice but to come to the service department for help. But the result was obviously not good. Yukinoshita Yukino obviously couldn't see evil spirits, so she just treated Yatsugumiko's question as some kind of chunabu behavior. Of course, from another perspective, Yotsuya Miko dared to directly ask about things related to evil spirits in the service department, which probably means that at least there are no evil spirits in the service department. So you didn't accept her commission. Chuan was a little curious about how Yukinoshita Yukino dealt with Yotsuya Miko. Judging from Yotsuya Miko's state when she left yesterday, she probably failed to help Yotsuya Miko solve the problem. After all, Yukinoshita Yukino doesn't seem like someone who can solve the problem of evil spirits. However, Yukinoshita Yukino has the kind of character that wants to help others, so although she can't help Yatsugumiko solve the problem, she shouldn't refuse her request, right? I would like to accept her commission and prepare to take her to see a psychology teacher. With a serious look on her face, Yukinoshita Yukino said something that sounded rude to others. If an ordinary person said this, Chuan might think that he was looking for trouble, but if Yukinoshita Yukino said this, Chuan would think that she was really prepared to do this. But Yotsuya-san seemed very disappointed, so he declined and left directly. There was still a hint of doubt in Yukinoshita Yukino's words. She didn't know why Yotsuya Miko's attitude suddenly changed. He obviously came to ask for help, but he suddenly changed his attitude and left the service department. Chuan could guess that Yotsuya Miko realized that Yukinoshita Yukino could not help her solve the problem of evil spirits, so she left. However, Yotsuya Miko came to the service department probably with the idea of, maybe there is a chance, so she was not too disappointed. If Yotsuya-san comes to the service club again in the future, you can contact me. I might be able to help her solve the problem. Chuan looked at Yukinoshita Yukino, nodded and said, "Contact you." Yukinoshita Yukino looked at Chuan in surprise, looked him up and down, and then seemed to understand something. "Do you want to pursue girls too? What are you thinking about? I'm talking seriously." Chuan glanced at Yukinoshita Yukino speechlessly. This guy obviously thought he was attracted to Yotsuya Mitiko. If he admitted it, would Yukinoshita Yukino have received another commission? Do you also believe what she said about evil spirits? Seeing that Chuan was not joking, Yukinoshita Yukino glanced at Chuan suspiciously. Didn't you see it? Chuan is also a chunabu. You don't have to worry about this. You want to help others anyway, right? If I can solve Yotsuya-san's problem, then by introducing me to her, wouldn't you also be helping others? Chuan shrugged. If Yotsuya Miko came to his door now, Chuan wouldn't be able to deal with it for the time being. But tonight he is going to JoJo World View. If nothing else happens, he should be able to find a way to improve his soul and spirit. As long as he has a substitute and a way to attack evil spirits, he will naturally not be afraid of evil spirits. You are not a member of the service department. However, Yukinoshita Yukino still frowned and snorted slightly, still slightly dissatisfied with Chuan's statement. But in the end, Yukinoshita Yukino didn't say much. If Chuan could really help Yotsuya Miko solve the trouble, then Yukinoshita Yukino would be happy to see it. To put it bluntly, Yukinoshita Yukino established a service club to help students solve their problems. At first glance, it seems like self-satisfaction, but in fact she really wants to help others. So in the end, it was not himself who helped others, but Chuan, and Yukinoshita Yukino was not unacceptable. So, you asked me to come over and refine the details of the plan. Do you have any ideas? After discussing the issues between the service department and Yotsuya Miko, Chuan certainly did not forget the main issue that he was called over by Yukinoshita Yukino. Certainly, when Chuan changed the subject, Yukinoshita Yukino nodded and followed his words. You should have told Akagi-san my plan, right? Chuan nodded when he heard this. After all, he didn't have any plans, so he could only follow Yukinoshita Yukino's plan first. But now it seems that this plan may have some unexpected consequences. Seeing this, Yukinoshita Yukino continued. After the two of us leave, Akagi-san and Tamaya-san may not continue to act together, but may disband on the spot. Chuan also thought of this at the beginning. He originally thought that Yukinoshita Yukino had not considered this at all, but now it seems that Yukinoshita Yukino has thought of it. Chuan nodded and looked at Yukinoshita Yukino. So, what are you going to do? Tamaya-san doesn't know that Akagi-san is planning to pursue her, but Akagi-san knows the whole plan. Yukinoshita Yukino's expression was very confident, just like when she first decided on this plan. In this case, we just need to keep in touch with Akagi-san at all times, monitor the situation of Akagi-san and Tamaya-san at any time, and provide him with real-time suggestions. Providing advice in real time, that is to say, are you going to follow Akagi and Tamaya-san? Chuan probably understood what Yukinoshita Yukino meant. To put it simply, in order to prevent Akagi from slipping up at the critical moment, Yukinoshita Yukino decided to remotely control Akagi to ensure that Akagi could stay with Tamaya. After all, that guy Akagi said that when facing Tamaya Shion, he would not dare to come forward and talk to her. What if Akagi doesn't dare to talk to Tamaya Shion after Chuan and Yukinoshita Yukino leave this Saturday? Then the final result may be that Akagi and Tamaya Shion separate directly and go back to their respective homes. Yukinoshita Yukino considered this possibility, so she decided to monitor Akagi's situation throughout the whole process, and give timely advice when Akagi might fall off the chain to ensure that the two of them could always be together. However, it is not a simple matter to monitor the situation of Akagi and Tamaya Shion in real time. The only way is probably to follow Akagi and Tamaya Shion, that is, to tail. Absolutely. Although this kind of behavior is not very good, Akagi-san and Tamaya-san are not the type to take the initiative to talk to each other, so we can only help them. Yukinoshita Yukino did not shy away from this statement. Although stalking was a crime no matter how you looked at it, Yukinoshita Yukino still chose this plan without hesitation. There is no way, Akagi and Tamaya Shion, one is a stupid young man who is not good at talking to girls, and the other is a shy girl who has no feelings about love. If they are allowed to develop, it will be difficult to achieve results. Follow them and make suggestions in real time. After hearing this, Chuan thought for a moment and felt a little entangled. After all, he had decided to find a martial arts gym this weekend to see if he could learn some martial arts skills. But if you agree to Yukinoshita Yukino's plan, it means that you will definitely not have time to find a martial arts gym this Saturday. After all, you have to follow Akagi and Tamaya Shion's date schedule. Although it wouldn't be too uncomfortable to be accompanied by a beautiful girl like Yukinoshita Yukino, it would still delay his day, which made Chuan a little hesitant. What's wrong? Do you have anything else to do on Saturday? Yukinoshita Yukino also noticed Chuan's hesitation, so she asked. She is not the type to force others, and if Chuan really has something to do, she is not unable to change his plan. Although she has never been in love, Yukinoshita Yukino has always been obsessed with herself, and she believes that she can come up with other plans. That's right. Originally, I planned to go to a martial arts school to study after I separated from you this Saturday. Chuan didn't hide it, and revealed his original plan. It's not shameful to go to a martial arts school to learn some martial arts, and it's not a bad thing to keep fit. Although Chuan's goal is not to strengthen his body, in terms of physical strength alone, it would be difficult to find someone stronger than him in the world. He has never heard that there are people like Fanmaxing in this world. When he went to a martial arts school, he mainly wanted to learn some fighting skills. Even if it wasn't comparable to the schools in the Dragon Ball world, it would at least keep him from getting too fancy. Martial arts school, that's what it is. Yukinoshita Yukino nodded, thought for a moment, and quickly responded. How about this? As a reward for the help you provide to Chuan, I will take you to a gym where I know a famous swordsman to learn. How about this? Although it is not a martial arts gym, it should be similar, right? Kendokan. Chuan was stunned for a moment, and then started to think about it. There are many people who use weapons in Dragon Ball, but weapons have never been the main theme. After all, the destructive power produced by the chi in the Dragon Balls is much stronger than those weapons. Even if Trunks once used a sword, it basically had no sense of existence in the later stages. But in contrast, using chi to turn into weapons is actually a way to do it. In the battles in the Dragon Ball world, there have been many examples of using chi as weapons. For example, Zamasu in Dragon Ball Super, after he turned into Black Goku, he used his energy to transform into a huge scythe to fight, which was equally powerful. To put it more bluntly, Krillin's Chi Yuan Slash, although not a melee weapon, is a throwing move that has been shown to kill enemies beyond its level on more than one occasion. If Chuan could turn Chi into a cutting weapon, then swordsmanship in the Kendo Hall might not be an option. Think about yourself in a battle, holding a Chi sword with the same destructive power as Chi Yuan Slash. The lethality is probably much stronger than a simple Qigong wave. You know, Krillin can cut off Frieza's tail in the second stage with Ki Slash, so the power of Ki Slash should not be underestimated. Don't worry, the Kendo gym I know is not bad at it. How about it? Yukinoshita Yukino pursed her lips slightly, looked at Chuan and said. Chuan didn't have much doubt about the strength of the Kendo gym she recommended. After all, the Yukinoshita family was quite powerful, so most of the Kendo gyms that Yukinoshita Yukino could recommend were Kendo celebrities. Okay, I'll go with you on Saturday. After thinking for a while, Chuan, who felt that this wave was not a loss, agreed. Instead of searching for martial arts gyms on the street that he didn't know about his strength, it would be good to directly ask Yukinoshita Yukino to recommend a Kendo gym with online strength. Very well, let's meet on Sunday for this matter. Seeing that Chuan agreed, Yukinoshita Yukino's expression became brighter and she nodded with satisfaction. Huh, you want to come too? Chuan was shocked. He thought that when Yukinoshita Yukino recommended Kendo gyms, he just said hello to a certain Kendo gym and then took the time to go there himself. But judging from Yukinoshita Yukino's speech, it seemed that she was planning to go with him this Sunday. Of course, although it is the Kendo gym I recommended, I don't want anything to go wrong in your communication with the Kendo gym, so of course I have to go with you. Yukinoshita Yukino is also a perfectionist. Doing things by yourself can minimize accidents, which is not a problem. But Chuan still couldn't help scratching his head. Why did it seem like his 2 weekends were wrapped up by Yukinoshita Yukino after all this time? After leaving the service department, Chuan returned home, threw his school bag beside the bed as always, then sat down at the desk, and turned on the computer. You can do your homework later, but of course you have to play the games first. Chuan is playing an online game recently, which is a standard Japanese RPG online game. Although it is full of slowness and procrastination that are common in Japanese RPGs, Chuan is not very picky. As soon as he went online, Chuan saw the private message in the game pop up. The life-saving angel said, "Hey, Kobold, come and play the book on Saturday, the new high-difficulty book." That's right, Chuan's name in the online game is also Kobold, which is why when he entered the Infinite Horror VR game, and asked for a username, he filled in Kobold without much hesitation. Internet names will be reused in many places after you get used to them. Of course, the same is true for Chuan. If you see a Kobold somewhere one day, it might be Chuan. Kobold, I have something going on this Saturday, so I can't come. Chuan quickly sent a message back to the player named Angel of Life Saving and Healing the Wounded, saying that he was busy this Saturday. After all, he promised Yukinoshita Yukino to act together, and Chuan would still go to the appointment on time, so although he also wanted to play games, Chuan could only refuse with tears. The life-saving angel, huh? You actually have something to do on Saturday. It's a miracle. It must be a date with a girl. This, life-saving and healing angel, is an even more exaggerated online gaming loser than Chuan. Chuan usually just stays at home on weekends and doesn't go out, but this life-saving and healing angel is almost always online. At least when Chuan came online, she had never been absent. She was a standard nerd, and she claimed to be a girl, but if it wasn't true, Chuan didn't know. After all, across the internet, even if the other person is a dog, she can still claim to be a beautiful girl. Kobold, not dating a girl, but maybe watching other people date all day long. Chuan sighed. He and Yukinoshita Yukino, two singles, had to spend time on the weekend to match up a couple. It was awkward no matter how they thought about it. The life-saving angel. What kind of weird play is that? If you can't come on Saturday, you can always come on Sunday, right? The other party obviously didn't quite understand what Chuan said, but after all, they were just netizens. The other party was very sensible and did not ask further questions, but proposed to play games together on Sunday. After all, Chuan usually stays at home and plays games on weekends, so the other party naturally thinks that even if he has something to do on Saturday, he should still be free on Sunday. It's a pity that if the other party had said this yesterday, Chuan might have agreed, but now, his Sunday had just been booked by Yukinoshita Yukino in the service department. Kobold. There are things to do on Sunday. The life-saving angel. What? Are you going to become a real person? Obviously, this life-saving angel has always thought that Chuan and her are the same people, and they both have the standard otaku character. Probably it was hard for her to imagine that there would be people who would go home and play games every day after school, and also play online games on weekends, but they could actually get along well with everyone in school, right? How could such a person exist? Kobold. It's just some private matters. You don't think that everyone is like you, playing games every day and never going out, do you? The life-saving angel said. How rude. I also know how to go out to school. Kobold. You're actually still in school. This was the first time Chuan had heard of such a thing. Although this life-saving angel claimed to be a girl, Chuan did not expect that she was actually in school. After all, Chuan would open the game every time he came home, but every time he opened the game, this guy was online, so he always thought that the other person should stay at home and play games all day long. But now it seems, this guy may be a habitual offender of arriving late and leaving early. The angel who saved lives and healed the wounded. As long as it doesn't become a cash deposit, it will be fine. Among the people I know, there are not many people with better skills. If you quit, I will lose a teammate. Of course, the other party was so concerned about Chuan's situation. Of course, he couldn't have any special thoughts about Chuan through the network cable. He was simply interested in Chuan's gaming skills. Chuan's original game skills were very good, but now with the blessing of Chi, his reaction speed has been improved to a higher level. If he plays a dungeon again, he will surely surprise the angel who saves lives and heals the wounded. The life-saving angel. But as long as you're not dating a girl, then you shouldn't give up on online games so quickly. Kobold. Although what you said is true, it always makes people feel angry. Chuan's mouth twitched, because many teammates and players had girlfriends before quitting the game, so the saying of angels who save lives and heal the wounded is quite right. It's just that these words always make Chuan feel very uncomfortable. Why do you say it as if he can't find a girlfriend? The life-saving angel said. But if you really want to date a beautiful girl, I can't cooperate with you. Kobold. Isn't it too narcissistic to call yourself a beautiful girl? Although he usually interacts with the life-saving angel many times, this is the first time he has seen the other person talk so much. Angel who saved lives and injured people, this is not my boast. Back in heaven, anyway, in the place where I originally lived, everyone praised me as a beautiful girl who only meets once in 10,000 years. Kobold. Are all those old monsters living in your place? We only meet them once in 10,000 years. Chuan did not take the other party's words seriously. After all, across the internet, what the other party said did not have any credibility. Kobold. Anyway, I don't have time this weekend. Let's fight next week. It's not in a hurry anyway. The life-saving angel said. That's okay. Since you can't come this weekend, then my teammates here can't get together. It just so happens that I should go work on the weekend. Kobold. Are you still working? The life-saving angel. The living allowance provided to me at home is getting less and less, and it can no longer meet my needs for Krypton gold, so I found a part-time job, but I haven't done it for a long time. Kobold. This doesn't even make you fired. The store manager where you work is really a nice person. Chuan couldn't help but feel sad for the store manager where this guy worked. A worker who hadn't gone to work for so long didn't even fire her. However, after such a conversation, the image of this life-saving angel in Chuan's mind was gradually outlined. Being late and leaving early, being addicted to online games, spending money like crazy, being openly absent from work. No way, the more I think about it, the more I think this guy is a loser. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.